You have a barbershop business. The defendant left your employment.
Correct.
I opened my own business.
You signed this non-compete agreement.
Yes, I did, but under duress.
You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her.
This is crazy.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, applesauce.
This is Judy Justice. Nicole Messino is suing her former employee, Felicia Stella, for breach of contract, slander, and loss of income.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3095, Messino versus Stella.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Messino, you have a barbershop business.
Correct.
How long have you had it?
Since 2016.
How many people did you have working for you when you had the most people working for you, the most barbers working for you?
Currently, right now, I own 2 barbershops, and right now I have 11 employees.
When did you purchase the second shop?
The middle of December.
2023.
2023, yes.
The defendant worked in the initial shop.
That's correct.
Starting when?
In 2017.
Until when?
Until August 6th of 2022.
From what I read, all of the people that worked for you up until a particular time, and that would probably be around 2022, were 1099 employees, which means they were independent contractors. So at the end of the year, you gave them a Form 1099. They took care of their own taxes.
Correct.
At some point, according to you, you decided to make everyone employees.
Correct.
And at that time, you also decided to have all of your people sign agreements. And the agreements provided that they could not open up a barber business within a certain radius of your business.
Correct.
The defendant left your employment and opened up her own barbershop.
Correct.
She left your employ on August the 6th of 2022?
Correct.
And when did you open up your own barbershop, Miss Stella?
October 25th of 2023.
October 25.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was 2022. I apologize.
May I see a copy of the contract that you had with Miss Stella? Because what you're suing for is breach of contract.
Correct.
This contract. And slander. Well, you signed this agreement, madam.
Yes, I did, but
Okay,
under duress.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. You signed this agreement. I mean, I understand what you are alleging. You're alleging that you signed it under duress. Now, Sarah, would you look up for me non-compete agreements, Pennsylvania?
Sure.
The Pennsylvania law on the parameters of a non-compete.
Sure.
How many miles?
It's 3 to 5 miles in the state of Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, that's what Sarah's going to check.
I'll let you know. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so you signed this non-compete agreement. It is your defense that she threatened to terminate you if you didn't sign it. That's your defense
No, I didn't.
to this.
And more.
Yes.
There's more than that as well.
But that's your defense to this, to signing this agreement, that she said either you sign it
Yes, ma'am.
or I'm going to fire you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's okay. She could do that. It's our business.
In the state of Pennsylvania, there's contract law. There's three things that go with that. There's an offer, and then there's an acceptance and consideration.
Let me explain something to you. The laws of contract in every jurisdiction are the same. There has to be initially an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. That forms the basis of any contract.
Yes, ma'am.
There is an offer, an acceptance, and consideration.
No.
Absolutely, there is here. It's not as if Miss Stella, she said to you, if you don't sign this agreement, I'm going to amputate your arm at the elbow.
Okay.
That's different. She's allowed to say to you, I'm not hiring anybody or maintaining in my employment anybody who doesn't sign a non-compete clause. They're perfectly valid.
Okay.
And she's allowed to say that to you, you're allowed to leave. This is America. And she's allowed to fire you. She's the boss. She's allowed to say to you, in my shop from now on, everybody has to wear a uniform. I don't want to wear a uniform. Then you're fired. You don't have a right to a job unless you meet the requirements of your employer. The only question that I have is how many miles?
So there's not a set radius. It's all about reasonableness. The geography must feature a limited geography, for example, within a defined area such as a city, normally unenforceable to prohibit employees from working for any competitor across the country.
No,
but as long as it's
that's too onerous.
Exactly. But as long as it's a defined geography, it tends to be reasonable.
Okay. So what you're saying, Ms. Stella, is that you have proof that in the state of Pennsylvania, it either has to be 3 or 5 miles. It can't be both.
It's just, it just says between 3 to 5 miles. I don't have, and I do not have that proof. I apologize.
How many miles is the shop that you opened up from her shop?
It's 2.8 miles away.
Well, that's too close, madam. She's absolutely right. You breached her contract.
Okay. If I took her clients, then I
No, you
breached it.
breached her contract. It says that you cannot open a competing business for 5 years, and you certainly fall within the radius. You violated this contract.
Okay.
She's absolutely right.
All right.
When you left in August of 2022, where did you go?
I left. I didn't have anywhere to go.
So when was the next time you worked?
When I opened my own business.
And when you opened your own business, that was 3 months later.
Yes, sure was.
Don't be snippy, Miss Stella. It was 3 months later. How many of her barbers came with you?
3. 4 of us.
3.
3 total. 4 total.
4 total, you and 3 others. Is not
Yes,
an
ma'am.
answer. Yes is the answer.
I'm sorry.
Yes is an
ma'am.
answer. And the 3 others, did any of them come from her shop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so well, it's a breach of contract. It's clear.
They all left on their free will.
Okay.
I can't. I apologize.
Breach of contract. You have a counterclaim, which is interesting. And your counterclaim is for money owed for defamation of character, slander, harassment, and emotional distress.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not interested in the signing of this agreement.
Okay.
I'm interested in how you claim the plaintiff defamed you.
Well, her and her husband had a whole conversation about me on Facebook, ma'am.
Just a second. I'm not interested in her husband.
Okay.
I'd like to see what you claim she did to defame you.
She proceeded to write emails to my family.
Just a second. All
Okay.
I have to do is see what you claim she did to defame you.
It says that I have a current
Kevin, would
record.
you please get what she says she believes is actionable? Maybe.
She said I was stealing company time.
Hold on. Could you please just hand it to me?
Yeah. That I've been manipulating people, Your Honor.
Don't speak. Julia. And who is Julia?
My sister.
Okay. You wrote an email to Julia.
I wrote a heartfelt
Shh,
email
just a
to
second.
Julia.
Just say what. Who cares? Next.
I do, because I'm a recovering
Just a second.
addict. And for you
Just
to
a
go
second.
out and
Just
say
a
those
second.
things.
She's allowed to write a private communication to somebody. That's
a
not
third party?
published. That's not
That's
published.
not
You
true?
say she's defamed you publicly. She's allowed to write whatever
She's-
she wants in a private letter to
She
somebody.
stopped a police officer and lawyer on the street and told him that I was using drugs, actively using
Would you?
drugs.
Just a second. If you have that person here, I'll actually hear them.
Right.
But you don't. I'd like to see what you claim is actionable that she wrote about you. You said she posted something on Facebook. Well, Facebook is a public forum.
Yes, it is.
A letter to your sister is not a public forum. All I care about is
This
what
is it.
she
This is it.
wrote. Fine.
That's it.
Oh, she says the cancer is gone and the entire aura of the shop has changed. The dark cloud is gone. It's almost a clean slate with your new employees. You can expand and turn Giovanni's into a barbershop powerhouse. It was meant to me. What defamation is that? You talk. What?
They can't. The cancer. Like, I'm not a cancer.
Okay.
This is crazy.
All right.
She went around and told people that I was actively using hard drugs, ma'am.
Madam!
Okay.
Nicole Messino claims her former employee, Felicia Stella, breached their contract and stole her customers. Felicia is countersuing for harassment, slander, and defamation.
If you bring me a witness, I will hear you. I'm not hearing what she told a policeman on the street or what she told
That's it.
strangers. Nothing that you've shown me that was published is defamation. What else?
I was countersuing also for mental anguish. Your Honor, I am a recovering heroin addict, and I am open about that. And I tell
she's
people
using
that.
drugs.
And
Just a second. You have to understand, I didn't say that, and good for you if you got your life back on track. terrific for you. But in order to have emotional distress, you have to have somebody who's guilty of something that's illegal or against the rule of civil law. So far, you have nothing. This doesn't say anything that the cancer is gone and the aura of my shop is now different. You may have been hurt about it, but that's not actionable. Do you understand?
I do. I thought
Okay.
because there was a full conversation, that was my misunderstanding, that there was a whole conversation between her and her husband on social media with my name in it. So that was,
Sorry. And you breached your contract, Miss Stella.
Your Honor, may I say something?
About what?
About the contract, and because I am also a former employee of hers.
No, you can't. Did you sign a contract?
I did.
She threatened to fire you if you didn't sign it?
Correct.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, Applesauce. She's the boss. People in this country think that they're entitled to jobs. Once you have a job, you're entitled to keep it. Pay attention. You're entitled to fire anybody that works for you. I can look at Kevin and I can say, you know what? Last year I loved you. This year not so much. You're fired. He has a contract. I have to pay him out of his contract. I would never say that to him because I adore him. But he's capable of being fired. He's capable of being fired for anything other than a violation of the Constitution, which means you're being fired for race, religion, sexual orientation, probably a couple of other things that I've forgotten, some of which I think are absolute nonsense. But they're entitled to fire you if you refuse to sign an agreement that prohibits you from stealing their clients and their employees. They're absolutely
We were independent
entitled.
I was an independent contractor for 8 years. Tell me how they were her clients. They were not her clients.
You violated the terms of the contract. You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her within
She tried to make me
in 3 months.
unemployable.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. You count the claims dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Apparently, I was a cancer that worked there. Apparently, people didn't like me.
I think it was very fair. She signed a non-compete.
When I quit, so did 5 other of her staff members.
She turned all my employees against me, and she staged a walkout and took them because I was making changes to my business.
We're doing great. We're thriving. We're growing. And things have just been beautiful.
You know what? May the best business win because she pushed me to go further. I opened up a second barbershop in By Felicia.
You know, I still can't get past the fact, Sarah, that in this country now there's a sense of entitlement that once you start a job for a reason, for a non-reason, and we're not talking about the violations of
The Constitution.
the Constitution. We're talking about
Parameters set by bosses.
parameters. You have to be in at 9 o'clock. Well, but I can't because I get up late. I'll stay later. I can't be in by 9 o'clock. You're fired. Period.
Yeah.
I want you to continue to be my employee, but we're changing from 1099s to employees. If you don't sign this agreement, you're fired.
Yeah. As soon as I read the papers, I knew the defendant had misunderstood the definition of duress because it was smeared all over her answer that I only signed it under duress, duress this, duress that. Well, being offered the handbook of the place in which you were employed and being offered a choice of these are the new requirements. If you like it, great, sign
If
it,
not-
and continue
if
working.
not,
And if
adios.
not, goodbye.
Yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, but don't sign it, then go off and open up 2.8 miles away a competing business and take 3 people with you. Yeah, that's a no-no.
Blonsey O'Barron is suing his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, for stolen property and money taken from his bank accounts.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3056, O'Brien versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. O'Barron, you and the defendant were a couple for a while.
Yes.
From when to when?
2021 to 2023,
When in 2023?
October.
Well, we're not there yet. October of 2023 comes up in a few months.
That was 2022, I meant.
Okay, so from 2021 to October
2022.
of 2022.
Yes, my bad.
And You lived together. According to what I've read, you took an apartment and the lease was in both your names?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year was that lease signed?
In June.
June of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. You are in a wheelchair as a result of being shot.
Right.
When were you shot?
June 23rd,
Of what year?
2022.
Under what circumstances?
It was an altercation with my mother, my kids, and her boyfriend.
Okay, so it was somebody that you knew.
Yes.
And was that person arrested?
No.
Did you know who it was?
Yes, I know who it was.
Is there any reason why that person wasn't arrested who shot you?
I had a gun myself, and then the gun happened to go off. I didn't have an altercation with the person, so it was with somebody else. He was just there, and then he started shooting.
When you moved into the apartment with the defendant, you had not been shot.
No.
So when you were shot, you were hospitalized for a while?
Yes, I was
long?
in the hospital for about 3-4 months.
I'm going to come to you with some dates.
Yes, Your Honor.
You moved into this apartment together in October of 2022,
So we moved in June of 2022.
and he was shot that same month.
Yes, ma'am.
And he spent several months in the hospital.
He spent like 3 months in the hospital. Yes, Your Honor.
Your complaint against the defendant is that she used some money because you subsequently became incarcerated.
She didn't use it. She stole it.
She stole, you were living together.
Yes.
I assume sharing expenses.
Right.
And you had a bank account.
Yes.
You were incarcerated,
Yes.
which means that whatever income you had went into that bank.
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you, when you were in the apartment, shared expenses, including rent. How did you expect her to pay rent with you incarcerated if she didn't use your money that was going into your bank account, which she had control over?
The rent was already paid for 3 months.
You were incarcerated on what day?
I was in the hospital when the rent was already paid.
Well, you were in the hospital, but then you went to jail.
I went to jail.
Okay, you went to jail from when to when?
October till April.
The lease wasn't up until May. How was she supposed to pay rent?
That's what I'm saying. I paid.
Are you
the rent.
telling me in October you paid October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May?
I paid for 3 months.
Which 3 months?
From October, maybe till December.
Let's say it's true. I assume you can prove to me that you paid the rent for those couple of months. What happened to December, January, February, March, and April? What about those 5 months?
We actually didn't have an agreement for me to pay anything, so
You were both on the lease. You were both fully
Right.
responsible for the rent.
Right.
And you were paying something
Right.
towards the rent.
Right.
Well, I'm asking you, how do you expect her to pay the rent? What was the total rent?
The rent was $750 a month, Your Honor.
And prior to going to jail, how much did you contribute towards the rent? Is not an answer.
I wasn't working at the time because my situation, from October, I was being incarcerated, and I applied for disability, and then I was waiting to get approved while I was.
Well, you got disability. That's what you're complaining about, that you took
Yes.
money out of your account. The money that came out of your account to pay some of these bills was from disability.
I wish you would pay some bills with it. That would make me feel a lot better. But she never paid no bills. She just used the money for unnecessary stuff. So.
How do you know that?
Because I have the proof. If she would pay the bills with the money, when I got home, when I get out, I will probably have somewhere to go. When I left the hospital, I had a GoFundMe. I had a little money. I was helping paying
Just a
bills.
second, you did a GoFundMe?
Yes, from the
what?
hospital, from the months I was in the hospital, so to help me with my medical needs and stuff.
How much did you collect from a GoFundMe page?
2,800 something.
Do you have an outstanding medical bill?
No, I don't. I actually had Medicaid then at the time.
So that you had no hospital bill. You walked out of the hospital, didn't pay anything.
No, I applied while I was in the hospital.
Doesn't matter. You didn't pay anything, correct?
No.
So what did you do with the $2,800 you
No,
got
I-
from? Shh.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What did you do with the $2,800 that you got from the GoFundMe page? I'm just curious.
I actually bought a lot of stuff for me to use. When I got out, I needed a lot of stuff.
Okay, you say she took money. Did you take any money out of his account?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
How much did you take out?
I roughly spent maybe $3,000 on bills.
Okay, and what did you spend the $3,000 on?
There was rent, there was food, there were utilities, my car note.
Well, why is he responsible for your car note? Why is he responsible for your food?
Blondie agreed to take care of me because I was not working. I stopped working when he had his incident, his shooting incident. I stopped working to take care of him, to be there for him. And so I had no income coming in. Blondie stated to me that once he received his disability, he was going to take care of me because he had been priorly living with me and not paying any bills.
Is that right, sir?
Just
that's a simple answer. She said something to me. It sort of makes sense. And all I'm asking you is the statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
Aaron claims his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, stole his property and wrongfully withdrew money from his bank account. Sharila is countersuing for property damage.
The statements that she just made to me, are they accurate?
somewhat.
What's not accurate? Were you living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you paying bills when you were living with her? Rent, food, utilities?
Yes.
Were you paying for that?
I actually paid for food. Yeah.
Okay, so you paid for nothing. And then prior to your becoming incapacitated, was the defendant working?
She actually was working and then she stopped working.
She was working. What was she doing? You were living together, so you know what she was doing. What was she doing?
She wasn't really taking care of me.
I didn't ask about taking care of you.
She wasn't doing nothing.
I asked, was she working prior to your becoming incapacitated?
Yes.
What kind of work was she doing?
Nursing.
She was a nurse.
Yeah.
Are you still nursing?
Your Honor, I'm a medical office receptionist, so I'm not a nurse, Your Honor.
We should have gotten to know you a little bit better. Okay. And on what date did you leave that job?
I stopped working in July.
You were shot in June.
June, yes.
And then you were in the hospital for a while.
Yes.
And prior to being shot, you were not in a wheelchair.
No.
When you came home, was the defendant at home?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes? She was on the lease.
After a couple months from being there, she didn't want to be at the house. She was getting...
Was she with you in July?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she with you in August?
Yes.
Okay. What credit card charges do you believe exist that the defendant used your credit card without your permission?
Oh, right here.
Now, this is a checking account statement, sir.
It's the checking account. It wasn't a credit card.
So she never used your credit card without permission?
No, it wasn't in a credit card.
Okay.
It was just checking account.
In January, February, and March of 2023, you were incarcerated.
Yes.
What were you incarcerated for?
It was a warrant that I have.
Your Honor, it was a warrant from a violent situation that he incurred with his witness.
Tell me about it.
They had a disturbance at her location, and they arrested him from the house that we shared due to a warrant from his witness.
Okay. And was that because you called the police because you were having an altercation?
I called the police because we were having an altercation, but they arrested him due to an incident between him and his child's mother.
Okay. And when did that occur?
That occurred October 28th.
Now, what items do you say that she took from you without permission?
All my personal belongings, like clothes, shoes, everything.
When
I left with nothing at all, like when I got out.
When you got out of jail?
Yes.
Okay. When you got out of jail, what was the date that you were released from jail?
April 14th.
And where did you go?
I actually slept in the car that night because...
Where did you go the next day?
The next day, my kid's mother tried to help me find a hotel and pay for it.
And what happened to the apartment that you had been sharing with the defendant?
The week before I got out, me and the defendant, we was actually talking. When I got out, she was gonna release everything to me so we can move on. But
you could move on?
But we both can move on. So the week before I got out, she started answering the phone from the jail. And then she had a plan to move out, but when she moved...
Well, the lease was up the next month.
Well, I don't think the lease was off yet.
Yeah, the lease was going to be up the next month. It was a year lease.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm telling you, it was a year lease. It was going to be up the next month.
Okay, well, then again, she didn't want me to be there anymore.
Well, you had an altercation with her, did you not?
After my incident, she started there.
Just a second, you had an altercation with her?
We had, yes.
You had the altercation in October.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And as a result of that altercation, another warrant dropped on you from another incident.
Yes.
So I can imagine that she didn't want to be with you anymore because she had called the police on you as a result of the October incident.
No, that wasn't the reason.
Why? What was the reason?
The reason was because I wasn't good enough at the point because of my situation. I was in a wheelchair. She didn't want nothing to do with me at that point anymore.
Okay.
The only reason she actually led me on when the doctor told me I couldn't walk anymore. I told her, you don't have to be there if you don't want to. And even my mom told her that when she seen her outside the hospital. But she kind of feels some type of way about that. And then when I told her after that, she told me, well, your mom told me the same thing, but I choose to be here because, I love you, this and that. So she leave me on, tell me, I'm going to help you. You can come back home with this and that. And then a couple months after the low money I got from the GoFundMe was over, everything I said was an argument, and we started getting into altercation every other day. Because after the 2 months that I didn't have nothing to basically give her anymore, and being in my situation, it's like she was using that to, take advantage of everything.
What did she take?
She took my clothes, everything that I owned. She took everything that I owned.
Your Honor, I took some of his belongings to an address that he resides at also. I dropped some belongings off over there in Independence, Missouri.
And do you know who lives there?
Yes, his brothers live there.
And what did you bring over there?
I dropped off a couple Tupperware of clothes, Your Honor. I didn't want to bring anything personally to him because I just kind of feared for my life. And so I dropped some belongings off prior to him getting out. And then once he was released out, I kind of took some time to give him some of his rest of his belongings just because I was scared.
How did you give him those belongings after he got out?
I personally handed them to him.
Where?
His address in Independence.
Where his brother also lives?
Yes.
You remember that?
No, I have no idea what she's talking about, Your Honor.
What address is on your driver's license?
Her address, actually.
Okay. Did you call anyone before you went over there with these bags of clothing?
I talked to Blondie and I told him I was going to drop his stuff off. He gave me an address to drop the stuff off.
Can I see that, please? Do you remember that, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, just don't say anything.
Yep.
And she's going to show me.
I actually gave her an address, but nothing ever. Never.
Just a second. So now you're remembering that you gave her.
Yes,
and
I did.
I'd like to see what she has, please. It doesn't say anything. I will give you your belongings. We can move on, but
it's up at the top where I'm asking him for the address.
Address or what?
And he's not sending it, but he did send me an address. I just don't have that with me, Your Honor.
Okay, but I want to tell you something, sir. In this text exchange, she says address or what? And you answer her, enjoy my money while it lasts. You remember that? And then when you got out...
Blondie O'Barron has accused his ex-girlfriend, Sharila Williams, of stealing property and taking money without his permission. Sharila is countersuing Blondie for property damage.
I'm now addressing your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened on October 28th.
So what happened was I came home to him tearing up different items around the house. He tore up a wardrobe of mine. There were some TV damages done. As I came in the house, we were arguing. We had been arguing.
What were you arguing about?
I no longer wanted to be with him just for the past things that I've experienced with him. I was just done and over the drama, the mental abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse. My kids are witnesses to this. I was just done, Your Honor. I wanted to move on. So I called the police, and then they informed me that they were arresting him on another charge for whatever he had going on with his children's mother.
Now you can stand up.
Okay.
Tell me your last name.
Moore.
Miss Moore.
Yes.
You and the plaintiff have a child together?
Yes, ma'am.
One child?
Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff was arrested for an altercation that he had with you.
Right.
When did that happen?
Huh? A couple weeks before he was shot. He had some mail come into my house, and I didn't realize that he had mail delivered. And so he came to my residence, and he was looking for the mail, and I didn't give it to him. And so I asked him to leave a couple of times. He didn't leave, and so then I called the police. And so that's when he had a warrant out for his arrest for basically like disturbance of peace.
Oh, no. That doesn't make sense to me.
He tried to attack her with a crowbar.
Just a second. That
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Physical.
I've been in this business for much too long, folks, I want my mail and I didn't give it to you. So
That
he
is
went to
what
jail for
happened,
6
though.
months. That didn't happen, madam.
No,
Miss Moore.
it was it kind of got put under domestic because he did become like violent. He wanted.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, he wanted
Don't
his
give me
mail.
this mail business.
He wanted his mail, so he had a crowbar basically approaching my vehicle. And so my nephew went out there and tried to stop it. And so they kind of had a back and forth shoving a thing.
Just a second. So now it's getting more serious.
Yeah.
Were you, sir, arrested with regard to that domestic incident?
Yes.
Was there a trial on that case?
Yes.
What happened with that case?
They dropped it and just give me
I
probation.
No, they didn't drop it.
Yes,
If they
they
gave you
the charges.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully. The justice system does not put people on probation unless there is a conviction for something.
Right.
Now, they may have reduced the charges. Did you have a trial or did you plead guilty?
Plead guilty.
That's different story. You pled guilty to what charge?
Assault.
On whom?
Her nephew.
Her nephew, not her.
No.
Sit down. Okay. Sit down. I can rely on nothing that you tell me. So you were convicted of assault on her nephew. You were placed on probation.
I was already on probation for something else.
What were you on probation for something else?
Probation violation.
Well, you don't go to jail for probation violation unless there's another underlying crime. What was the underlying crime that time?
Driving.
Driving?
Yes.
No, driving is not a crime, sir. You were never on probation for driving.
Yes, I was.
Well, not in this country.
Okay.
Not in this country. You may be on probation if you have an aggravated DUI. You may be on probation because
Suspended license, ma'am.
Well, because you had no license.
Yes.
Even driving on a suspended license, you don't go to jail unless you had something more serious. Before that,
No, Your Honor.
you seem to have an awful lot of legal problems, sir.
I have.
You have an awful lot of legal problems. You were living with this lady. She took out money. She paid bills. Forget it. You used your GoFundMe page. I don't know what for. Here's a phone. I listened to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim didn't say much. It said he destroyed some things in your house.
Yes, Your Honor. Blondie tore up some TVs that were in the house. I have pictures of.
That was in October.
October.
Almost a year ago.
Yes, Your Honor.
Almost a year ago. We're almost a year later. If he destroyed some of these items, where have you been about filing a case against him?
So I realized that the police department, they put out a warrant for the damages that occurred October 28th to an iPhone of mine.
Do you have
that police report,
I'd
yes,
like to
Your
see the
Honor.
police report. You cause any damage to things in her residence?
Actually, what happened...
Just a second to see the yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, the only thing that was reported damaged was an iPhone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. And the police reported that it was broken front and back. Nothing else. No TVs, no nothing. That's what the police reported. They spoke to you and that's what you said was damaged. Did you damage her iPhone?
No, ma'am.
How did it get damaged?
What happened was the altercation that happened between me and her. She started. I was in the kitchen, and then she was in the bedroom. And then next thing I know, I was opening the fridge. I'm sitting there, and then I got a punch that come behind my head. And then she took off running and went outside, and then called the police.
What did you use to call the police? Is not an answer. What did you use to call the police?
My cell phone, Your Honor.
Yuck. Your counterclaim is dismissed. So is your claim, sir. I suggest you stay far away from each other, and I'm going to tell you one thing. If he has violent propensities, you think twice. Be smart. Goodbye. Both of you. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Blondie freeloaded off of me for a year and a half.
I don't think it was fair enough. I didn't really get my point across.
The final straw is my kids. My kids had endured enough, and it was just time for a change for us.
Forgive her. I guess she needed the money more than I do. I'm not really mad about it. It's okay.
I'm okay with the judge's decision today. I just gonna get my protection order and move on.
You know what was most distressing to me about that case, Sarah? The plaintiff's girlfriend, the mother of his son, was a well-spoken, articulate, together woman with whom he's currently living, despite the fact that he was convicted of a serious assault. He was originally charged with aggravated assault on her nephew. Then you have the defendant, another articulate, seemingly together person who had a responsible job before him. These two women accepting a place where they know they're going to live in fear of somebody that has violent propensities. Yeah. They both know it.
At least with the defendant, after they had that altercation in which she called the police, she left. She said, her testimony today was, that was it for me. But you can't say the same thing for the mother of his child, so it's just unfortunate that she'll have to live with that fear.
I don't know how long.
We'll see.
Taylor is suing his former friend, Sabra Crockett, for the cost of a van.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3065, Taylor versus Crockett.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Taylor,
Yeah.
I read your complaint. I have several questions.
Okay.
When was the last time you owned a car in your name?
October of last year.
What kind of car did you own?
2010 Lexus.
What happened to that car?
The upper and lower control arms were broke, and I couldn't drive it because I felt that it was too unsafe.
How long did you have that car?
About 4 months.
Was it insured?
Yes.
By whom?
I don't have the name of the insurance company with me, but it was insured.
Prior to that, you had that car for 4 months. What was the car you had previous to that?
Previous to that, 2000 Cadillac SDS.
On either of these cars that you had, either the Cadillac or the Lexus, had you accrued tickets and fines?
Yes.
How much?
I believe my tickets are around a couple thousand.
On both of those cars?
No, not on those cars, from cars prior.
I'm talking, well, you couldn't have registered either one of those cars, sir, if you had $2,000 in fines on other cars.
I have a photograph of the picture of the registration.
Of what?
To the Lexus on my phone.
Did you pay the $2,000 in fines on previous cars?
No.
No. Now we can get started with this case.
Okay.
This case says that you purchased a van. For whatever reason you purchased the van. The defendant was a friend of yours. You asked to put the van in her name.
She asked.
No, that's not right. Dear.
Okay. Go ahead.
Get it together, sir.
All
Would
right.
you please? I'm going to be respectful to you. You be respectful to me.
Amen.
Good. You asked to put the car in her name because you had unpaid fines and tickets and couldn't have it in your own.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That is a yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Just as long as we're getting it together.
Okay.
And she did. You bought the van. You paid $2,400 for it.
No, ma'am.
How much did you
The
pay
total
for it?
price, I have the bill of sale here. Evidence.
It says here in your complaint, sir, I paid $2,500 for the van.
Yes, I made a payment on the van since then of $200.
May I see the papers that he's showing me? I went to visit my friend in April 2022, who was a bishop, parked next to an old van at the church owned and asked if they would be willing to sell it. He said the church would sell me the van. I paid $2,500 for the van. That's your sworn complaint.
Okay.
Okay is not, okay is great.
Right, but they decided that they wanted $2,900. I do have, Your Honor, I do have the receipt.
I don't, listen to me, sir.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right.
The reason you put the van in the defendant's name was because legally you were not allowed to put it in yours because you had unpaid fines. What happened, according to the defendant, is that in the time that you had the van, which was from what month and year to what month and year?
May the 1st of 2022, and she brought the police.
When did she take the van back?
May the 7th. May the 7th of this year.
And in that year, according to the defendant, she took the van back because you had, again, acquired a lot of tickets on it.
2 tickets, which I paid.
Really?
Yes, I have the receipt.
Well, then she's going to have to show me. She said you acquired $1,600 worth of tickets. Is that what you wrote?
Yes, I did write that, Your Honor.
Do you have proof of that?
I have proof as what the tickets are and what it would cost to get this van in shape.
No, that's not what I asked you. I said...
I have some here, yes, I do.
Just a second.
Okay.
Answer. At this point, he owed me $1,600 in toll fees.
Toll fees?
Do you have proof that in that year, he accrued while driving the van
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because the $1,600 was including everything that needed to be added to this van.
No, Miss Crockett.
Yes.
No, Miss Crockett. That's not what you said here. You said you took it. I'm going to read you what you wrote.
Yes, dear.
At that point, he owed me $1,600 in toll fees, and I didn't trust him to do the right thing. Before the van was completely worthless, I decided to have the police come and get it.
Yes.
So how much were the fees? You said toll fees. How much could you prove that he had accrued in toll fees? You didn't spend any money for this van. And I absolutely believe that you should have taken it back. Under normal circumstances, you should have taken it back if he accrued any tickets on the van, because you're liable for that.
Yes.
And he's got a miserable history with paying his fines.
Yes. Yes,
do you understand?
Yes,
yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. How much can you prove he had in toll fees?
The tickets that I have here, pictures of.
Well, show me.
Okay.
I didn't ask you for anything. Are you showing me text messages? I want to see toll fees.
That's all I have here is the text messages.
From whom?
Between Edward and myself, and some pictures of the tolls, the tickets that I sent to him.
I would like to see the tickets that you sent him. I don't want to see text messages. You tried to
claims his former friend, Sabra Crockett, owes for the cost of a van. Sabra says the van was stolen and she owes him nothing.
You're the owner of the car. You would have gotten notification of toll fees.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, then I want to see them. Look that up. Give me the low range.
1,600 to 4,000.
Miss Crockett, it's taking you too much time to find what was clear.
All right, here's two, my dear.
Here's two what?
More. Here you go, young man.
Yeah. Well, I have one, and she says to you that she got a collections notice on a ticket from September 13th in the amount of $110.17. So you need to call this lady. And then on May 5th, she says to you, your balance from other tickets would be $601.17.
No, ma'am. I have two tickets here.
Mm-hmm.
One, that's $33 from Trenton. I was in Trenton. I have one that says $110.17.
Right.
I have letters here that state that she received the money.
Just a second. When did you get the fines?
I didn't get pulled over. This was like from a camera shot. And there was no toll booth in Trenton.
How come it went? Just a second. It went to collections, sir. So if she was notified of a ticket, listen to me.
Okay.
If she was notified of a ticket, believe me, this lady notified you right away.
No, she didn't. I can prove it.
Go ahead.
The letter that she sent me said that the ticket was September the 13th, 2022. 7 months later, I have here from her one ticket that says $110.17 and another ticket that says $33. That's $143.17.
I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about why did it go to collections?
Because she didn't turn the money in that I stuck in her mailbox. And I have proof here that I stuck the money in her mailbox.
Just a second. On what date did you put money in her mailbox?
I have it here on March the 15th. It says...
Just a second. March?
Yes.
Just a second.
March the 26th at 5:15, I got a text message from Miss Moore. I just got it this morning, the money you put in my mailbox. I got it, but you are still late. I will send you the picture of the ticket. Now, this is the first time I gotten a ticket from her period. The one for 33 and the one for 110. This other thing about $116, she can't show you that she sent it to me. She cannot. For her life, she can't show you that. Here are the 2 tickets that she sent, and on my phone, I have a balance of $60.17.
Oh, well, maybe this says 60, although it looked like 601.17.
Oh, no, $60.17.
60?
It's $60, Your Honor.
$60.17?
Yes, dear.
Yes, not
Okay.
600.
That was on Friday, May 5th.
Yes. On Monday, May the 1st, I paid her $182 for insurance. Here's the letter that she sent me about the insurance
May I?
due.
This is in...
Here's another one. Wait.
Just a second.
Okay.
Let's start with this, Mr. Taylor. The fact that you tried to scam the Department of Motor Vehicles starts you off with a problem. Do you understand?
Yes.
With me. Starts you off with a problem. Because if you know that you're not allowed by law to register a car in your name because you have unpaid fines from whatever state you're from. What state are you from?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania. You have unpaid fines. And you try to circumvent the law by physically owning a car, having it in your possession, and being the sole driver of the car, and putting it in someone else's name to circumvent the fact that you haven't paid tickets, doesn't put you in a good place here.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand that. It's like buying a car without a driver's license and saying, you know what? This is the car I want. I have no driver's license because they took my license away for drunk driving, but I need a car to get around. So I'll give you the money, you buy the car, and I'll drive it. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's against the law. So when people come into court who have already broken the law, and you ask me to find in your favor and return a car to you that you can't own, you understand? We have a problem. That's where we're starting from. Now, similarly, you were an accomplice because you knew that he couldn't have a car in his name. Are you denying that you knew he couldn't have a car in his name?
Yes, I am denying that, Your Honor.
Now you tell me why you thought uncross your arms, why you thought he needed the car put in your name rather than him owning the car himself.
Okay, this is how it went, Your Honor.
No, I asked you a question.
Yes.
I mean, do you own a car?
Yes, I do.
Did you pay for it?
Yes, I did.
Is it in your name?
Yes, it surely is.
It surely is. Who is this person?
This is my girlfriend, my neighbor, and my friend.
Does she own a car?
Yes, she does.
Is it in her name?
Directly, yes, it is.
Okay, so you know that if he bought a car with money,
yes,
and said to you, put it in your name, there had to be a reason.
Definitely.
What did you think the reason was?
When I got to the Allstate office to get the title change, he approached me and said, could you put it in my name because I have a lot of tickets?
That's what I just said.
Yes, but I didn't know that. I knew that he had a lot of tickets. I said, I'm going to give you 3 months.
It doesn't make any difference. What you did was you knew he couldn't put it uncross. You knew he couldn't put it in his name because, for the same reason the drunk driver couldn't put a car in their name, they had no license. He wasn't allowed to own a car unless he paid off his fines on his old cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were an accomplice in that by putting it in your name. That's what I'm telling you. That's not a question. That's a statement. There's a difference between a question and a statement. I'm making a statement to you.
Yes, you are.
You knew?
No, I did not know, dear.
Oh, yes, you did.
No, I did not, because when I met Mr. Taylor, he was driving a Chrysler 3000.
Who cares? He told you he couldn't put it in his name because of the tickets.
For the tickets.
That's what...
Yes, dear.
That's exactly what I said to you. He told you he couldn't put it in his name because of the tickets.
Former friend, Sabra Crockett, of refusing to pay for his van after it was stolen. Sabra says she did Edward a favor, and he still owes her for parking tickets.
So, Mr. Taylor, I am disinclined to help you, but I want to know what happened to this van, just out of curiosity. Now, I know the van was stolen once
Yeah.
and recovered. Was stolen a couple of months after you were driving it.
After I brought it.
6 weeks. It was sad. And then you got it back, got it out of impound, a couple of parts or whatever. But you were still driving it because you drove it for a year after it was stolen the first time. You took it back more recently because you say you got these tickets, whatever. You took it back.
Yes.
It wasn't smart of you to do it in the first place if you knew that he was breaking the law by having this car.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to the van?
I retrieved the van.
Yes, I know you did.
And with the police.
On what date did you go and get the van?
I got the van on May 3rd, 2023.
No.
Where is it now?
Somebody stole it, Your Honor.
From where?
In front of my house.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do, dear.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Here you go, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This young man here.
Okay. And Allstate is the insurer.
Yes, dear.
Did you advise Allstate that it was stolen?
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
They gave me a claim number and said they'll call me in a couple days.
And did they call you? Or you waiting for the call?
I was waiting for the call, yes. Dear.
Oh, well, then you have to wait, sir. If you get any money, you have to give it to him. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have talked to Allstate, but it was only, liability on it? No other?
Well, that would not be my problem. That would be his problem. You put insurance on this.
Yes, I pay every month.
It depends upon what kind of insurance you have.
$80
If you get any money back from Allstate for the van, listen, this just happened. We're talking about something that happened 23 days ago. You're not a priority for Allstate. So I don't know whether they're going to give you any money or not. It depends upon his insurance. All I'm telling you is if you get any money for this stolen van, it belongs to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Has he cleared up all the tickets that are in your name?
No, dear.
How much is outstanding in tickets that you can prove?
Probably $50.
I don't care about $50. I mean, I care about $50.
Okay.
I care about $50, but not as much as this tape is costing to tape this case. So you understand that if you get the check and if you had insurance to cover your van, sir, pay attention. If you had insurance to cover your van, I'm directing her to turn that money over to you if she gets it.
Yes.
If she doesn't get it, you get nothing.
Okay. But how would I know if she got it?
Well, you trusted her to put the car in her name, didn't you?
But I can't, Your Honor, can I show you this here where I don't owe anything for tickets?
I don't care.
No,
you
I'm just
understand?
saying.
I don't care.
Okay.
You do owe for your old car's tickets.
Okay, yes.
You
but I'm
do
saying
owe
attorney-
thousands of dollars for your old car's
Yes,
tickets.
I agree.
All I'm saying to you is that if you had full coverage on this van instead of just liability, if you hit somebody, she should get a check for a stolen car. If you do not have that on the van, she will not. So I would suggest that we will prepare an order for this car that you can send to Allstate, which is your insurer, that if there is a check, her insurer, which if there is a check, that check should be forwarded to you. Whether they will do that or not, I don't know. But I doubt very much whether you were paying for anything other than the minimum liability on this van. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's right. But
then you would get nothing. Then you would get nothing. She doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Got stolen.
I knew nothing about it being stolen.
Well, just so that you
Until
know,
now.
this is the police report. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll take it back now. Got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, the judge made a good decision.
I think the judge did a marvelous job.
Well, I just didn't pay it. That's just telling the truth.
Because he knew I had a valid driver's license and I could drive and he couldn't.
She never intended on giving me the title.
I went to his church and I had the police to meet me there and I had the title, registration, and the insurance card.
I learned that you can't trust everybody.
This is a lesson learned. Do not sign for anything unless you check out all the facts.
Okay, I just have a little bone to pick with your analogy of, I understand the analogy that you made between driving drunk and covering for someone who's unable to drive under the law for having a DUI or, something of that nature. But when you liken it to parking tickets, I understand under the law equally that person would be unable to register a car for those two reasons. But I feel like with a DWI, you're making an active choice to get behind the wheel when you know that you're drunk and you're endangering the lives of others. With parking tickets, there's a lot of factors, socioeconomic factors, that play into why someone might not be able to afford their parking tickets. Now, before you get to the counterpoint of he bought 2 more cars after that, I'm not saying that this situation warrants my counterpoint, but I do think that it's something to consider, is that a DWI is something very serious, that you're taking an active role in your own criminal behavior.
You're endangering
others.
You're endangering others. I would agree with you. When you come into a court of law and equity, equity means you want a fair result to happen. So you're sort of throwing yourself on the court and saying, I want you to do justice. And before you do that, you're supposed to come in with
clean hands.
Right. And he clearly couldn't do that because the whole scheme with the car is to avoid personal responsibility, paying your tickets so that you can have a car, so that you don't park next to a fire hydrant in a handicap spot, in a fire zone. You're not supposed to do that. That also places people at risk, but not in the same way as drunk driving. But
I understood the analogy.
You're not supposed to, not here anyway, break the law and then come into court and ask for my help in equity when you've broken the rules.
The same court you're defrauding.
Yep. And she was really a co-conspirator.
I don't even think she realized until you said it 3 times.
No, I don't think she realized. She realized it either. I'm not sure. She was supposed to be a church member or whatever, a friend. I'm not so sure that there wasn't a little bit more there. I don't know. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't, for anyone, put a car in my name and be responsible for it and let you drive if you have a history of being irresponsible.
You wouldn't even do that for me, I don't think.
No, you don't have to think about that. I would not do that for you. I wouldn't put a car in my name for you. You had this disagreement?
Her son was playing with the dog. He kind of sit next to me and he was playing with some slime. And I'm like, what is that? He said, Daisy busted the ball. I said, give me that ball. And it was my breast implant.
You kept your old breast implants?
Absolutely.
Why?
Why not? I mean...
This is Judy Justice. Naomi Jackson is suing her former roommate, Gianna Rodriguez, for property damage caused by Gianna's 5-year-old son.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3083, Jackson versus Rodriguez.
Thank you. Miss Jackson, you have your own home?
I do.
You own the home or rent it?
I own it.
You have a mortgage?
No.
You and the defendant met, you became friends, and you invited her and her 5-year-old child, who she shares custody with the father, to live with you and share expenses.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
She was a tenant of mine, is how we met. That was 2 years ago, back in 22. And it was her boyfriend that I rented to. Okay, but
that's not that far afield.
She wanted to move out of where she was living because school's got to start. And I said, well, why don't you come live with me? I have a 6-bedroom house. I live by myself. So I said, well, why don't you come live with me? So Spurs and all me.
When did she come to live with you?
2022, January, February.
No, it was...
In 2022, the beginning of 2022?
23, sorry.
23?
Yes. 22 when she was a tenant.
No, 23 she came to live with you?
With me, correct.
And where are you living now?
I now live with my cousin somewhere else.
Since when?
Since June.
Is that when you had this disagreement?
Yeah, when we got into the argument. And I told her I was going
and this is what you got into an argument about. Now, Ms. Jackson, it is your claim that the defendant's 5-year-old, who she was not supervising adequately, got into your bedroom, and in your closet you kept your old breast implants, ones that you had removed because you got different ones.
Correct.
And you kept them for no particular reason, you weren't using them again. It's a sentimental reason that you kept the breast implants. And it is your claim that her son got into the room, got into the box where you kept them, took it and was playing with it with the dog, and they were destroyed.
Correct.
Okay, and you want her to pay for the breast implants.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because why not? I mean, they were my breast implants.
Yeah.
It was my property.
Yeah. How much did you pay for them?
The time when I did that surgery?
Yes.
I paid $3,500. But I paid my surgery to get them taken out. I paid $4,000.
No, but the new ones
put in.
I'm just talking. I don't care taking them out. That has no relevance to this whatsoever. So you paid $3,500 for them. When? What year?
I did them back in 2000. So the silicone I did back in 2012.
Okay. So now they're teenagers.
Who's teenagers? Oh,
breast implants.
Yes. No, I had it for 7 years.
So you replaced them after 7 years. So you replaced them in 2019.
Yes, the current ones I have now. I got those taken out.
Just
2019.
So you replaced them in 2019.
Yes.
And you want the original cost of them.
Sure.
Okay. Well, you don't get that. Now, you want to tell me this incident happened in June. Let's just be quick about it. Please, because I have other things to do today. You heard some noise.
You said the original cost. You heard, it's not like the value of them went down. If anything, it's higher to get them replaced, the silicone implant.
Sound ridiculous. It was in June of this year that this incident occurred?
It happened in May.
23.
Okay. And you heard some noise, and when you looked outside, when you looked in the house, you found her son playing with your dog?
I was sitting down watching TV.
And?
Behind me, her son was playing with the dog. He kind of sit next to me, and he was playing with some slime. And I'm like, what is that? I didn't want it on the couch. So I said, what is that? He said, Daisy busted the ball. I said, give me that ball, because like I said, I didn't want it all over the place, all over the couch. And it was my breast implant.
Okay. And where had they been?
They were in my closet in a medical sealed bag.
Okay. Now, did Miss Jackson tell you about what happened that day?
No, she never once, Your Honor, mentioned that she had silicones in a bag. Not to mention that they were in a closet reachable for a 5-year-old child to get to.
My closet.
Plus.
My closet.
No. And plus, my dog is there too. Not to mention, if they busted, because something could have happened to him.
That's a shoulda, woulda, coulda. There isn't a question, Miss Rodriguez, in your mind that due to your 5-year-old's actions, she lost a piece of her property.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now we have to put a value on that piece of property, which is not $3,500. So you kept these breast implants, which you cannot use again because they can't be used again. You kept them for sentimental reasons.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And they can't be replaced for sentimental reasons. Once they're gone, correct? Once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, if sentimental, you can't reuse them. You can't resell them. They are of no...
Resell them. I mean, I could probably reuse them if I wanted to.
Oh, I don't think you can.
And later today, Naomi Jackson is accusing her former roommate, Gianna Rodriguez, of refusing to pay for her old breast implants after Gianna's 5-year-old son destroyed them.
Now, you can't reuse them. You can't sell them. You can't turn them back to the manufacturer.
I paid for them.
I understand that you paid for them. Let's say you had a car and the car was unusable, but you had gotten it from a parent, from an old boyfriend, from somebody, so you kept it in the garage. It couldn't be sold. It couldn't be driven. You kept it because you liked to look at it. And let's say her son, instead of your breast implants, got into the car and got bubble gum on the seat. Is he going to pay for the car? It's unusable. It's undrivable. It's incapable of being traded, negotiated for anything. It may have sentimental reason for you, but it has no extrinsic value to anybody else. So what do you think you're entitled to for
Well, it has
losing.
value to everything else, but it has value to me, and it cost me money to get it. So I don't agree with just like.
Very good.
So just let it
Very
go.
good. Your son should not have destroyed her property. Do you understand?
Correct.
Whether it was negligence on your part for not watching the 5-year-old, I don't know. You don't keep an eye on a 5-year-old all the time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. Thank you very much. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
$1. I paid $4,000 for my breast implants. $1.
I am happy today. I am thankful that it was in my favor for the dollar.
So I can go bust people's implants and don't have to pay for it?
I'm pretty sure it was silicone, and that's toxic. It's poisonous. So I'm just thankful that my dog and my child wasn't harmed.
I'm very upset.
Well, she was pretty upset.
$1 for my breast implants. I paid $4,000. I'm very angry.
If you left them in the closet, it's like a pair of shoes in the closet. They're just sitting there waiting to be played with.
Ridiculous.
And Reza Mahasani are suing 20-year-old Jennifer Santiago for medical bills after being hit by a car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2020, Hildreth Mahasani versus Santiago.
Thank you. Miss Hildreth.
Yes.
Pronounce your last name for me, sir.
Mahasani.
Mahasani.
Yes.
You two were crossing the street in San Diego?
In Carlsbad Village.
Is that in San Diego?
It is. It's a suburb of San Diego.
Is that where you live?
Correct, in Carlsbad.
And you were hit by Miss Santiago, who was driving her mother's car.
Correct.
Miss Santiago acknowledges that she hit you, and you were seriously injured. You've had shoulder surgery. You were both injured.
Correct.
When did this happen?
This happened on Friday, September 4th, 2020.
I just have a couple of preliminary questions before I get into the facts of it.
Sure.
I assume that since this accident happened in 2020, that you tried to sue either the defendant and or her mother as the car's owner.
Well, we would have done so, but the driver was uninsured.
That's the question. You would have done so,
Yes.
except the mother had no insurance.
It is my knowledge that the mother had insurance, but and which I have the evidence, that her daughter was excluded from the policy.
The policy, and therefore the insurance company disclaimed.
Correct.
I'd like to see that.
Absolutely.
That's why your mother's not here.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, that's why your mother's not here, Miss Santiago.
Without her knowing.
Miss Santiago, that's why your mother's not here.
No.
Well, were you excluded from the insurance policy? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Then you shouldn't have been driving the car.
Yeah, I know.
Just a second. Then you
I
shouldn't
know.
have been driving the car.
I took the car.
I don't want to
knowing
hear
that-
I don't want to hear some pat answer from you. Do you understand? That's why your mother's not here.
Well, it was.
I didn't
my
ask you a question.
responsibility,
I didn't
and I took
ask
the car
you.
without
Do you understand?
information.
They don't listen to you when I'm speaking. When I ask you a question, you'll answer me. I don't want to hear some pat answer. I want to hear a lot of I'm sorries. I want to hear a lot of I'm sorries.
Why would I say I'm sorry if they didn't pay attention when they were crossing?
You weren't supposed to be behind the wheel of a car.
But I was paying attention.
You weren't supposed to be behind the wheel of a car.
But why they didn't pay attention?
I'm not speaking to you. I just told you why. Why should I
There was
say I'm
no
sorry?
lights
Hey, be quiet. Why should I say I'm sorry if they weren't paying attention? Because you weren't supposed to be behind the wheel of a car. If you weren't behind the wheel of a car, whether they were paying attention or not would be irrelevant. You weren't supposed to be driving. She thinks you have a big mouth. You don't have a bigger mouth than me, madam. I guarantee you, the last person who drove yesterday that wasn't supposed to drive yesterday because they were drunk killed six.
Drunk.
Nobody's listening to you. When I'm speaking, nobody's listening to you. Killed 6 people. Last person who drove that wasn't supposed to be behind the wheel of a car killed 6 people. You were not supposed. Hey,
drunk.
I'm speaking. You were not supposed to be behind the wheel of a car. Don't you understand that?
I understand
Are you
that.
stupid?
I'm not.
You are not supposed to be behind the wheel of a car. You were an excluded driver, and you were an excluded driver for a reason.
Not only that, Your
Now,
Honor.
just a second. Don't speak. Now I'm going to read and calm myself down. I don't like my blood pressure to get too high. I just don't like stupid. Our investigation, which is after you notified the insurance company, determined that the driver of the insured's car, Jennifer Ramirez, was not covered by the policy. That's what you're telling me.
Correct.
I don't understand this. You were walking, correct?
Correct. Both.
What is this? Your driving privileges will be suspended on November 21st. What is that?
I think there was a misunderstanding that we were actually driving a vehicle.
Yeah.
And when I called the DMV and I explained that, no, we're actually pedestrians, then they said, oh, I'm sorry, disregard that.
Yeah.
Stupid.
And
do you have a letter from them indicating that this is wrong?
They just told me that we can disregard it, and they just corrected it. That's all they did.
And
Can I
it
say
was
something?
stopped because she was also unlicensed.
Just a second. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm not there with Big Mouth. Okay. This happened on September 4th, 2020. What time of the day?
It was in the evening. It
What time?
was about 8
I think
p.m.
it was, around 8 o'clock.
Light or dark outside?
Dark.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of
It is.
the intersection where this happened?
It is, Your Honor.
Ms. Santiago, is that a fair and accurate representation of the intersection where this happened?
Yes.
So at the intersection where this happened, there were lines across the highway indicating pedestrian walkway.
Correct.
And there were 2 signs indicating pedestrian walkway.
There were 3 signs. One in the center median and one on each side.
On September 4th, Ms. Santiago, this requires a yes or a no answer from you. On September the 4th, 2020, did you have a valid driver's license?
Mahasani claimed 20-year-old Jennifer Santiago struck them in a crosswalk while she was driving without a license. Jennifer says they were not paying attention and walked into oncoming traffic.
Now, on September 4th, Ms. Santiago, this requires a yes or a no answer from you. On September the 4th, 2020, did you have a valid driver's license?
I didn't, Your Honor.
I said it's either a yes or a no. Did you have a valid driver's license?
No.
Did you ever have a valid driver's license?
No.
Do you have a valid driver's license today?
No, Your Honor, because they...
That's a no. What's your name?
Vanessa?
What?
Giles?
Stand up. Did you come with her today?
Yes.
How did you get here?
I drove. My license.
Just a second. You drove?
Yes.
In whose car?
My car.
What kind of car is it?
Kia.
Did you ever drive with Miss Santiago?
Yes.
When? Did you ever drive in a car where she was the driver and you were the passenger?
Yes.
When?
September 4th, 2020. 2 years
Other than
ago.
September 4th, 2020, did you ever drive with Miss Santiago where you were the passenger?
Yes.
When?
September 4th.
I said other than September
that,
4th.
no.
Other than September 4th.
Other than that, no.
On September 4th at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Where were you?
We were at the beach. Carlsbad Beach.
Sure, you were at the beach. Who else was at the beach?
Santiago and another friend. He's a minor. He's 16.
There were 3 of you at the beach. Anybody else that you knew at the beach?
No.
How long had you been at the beach?
Like for an hour.
So you got there at 6 o'clock in the evening.
We got there at 7. We were going back home at 8.
So you got to the beach at 7. What did you do at the beach at 7 o'clock?
We were just sitting there, eating, relaxing, having a good time, as teenagers that we were.
Now, did Miss Santiago pick you up or did you meet at her house? Just think, take a breath. Did you meet at her house or did Miss Santiago pick you up?
She picked me up.
How far do you live from her?
2 minutes away.
And what about the 16-year-old minor?
3 minutes away.
Did she pick up the 16-year-old minor?
Yes.
How old was Miss Santiago in September of 2020?
18.
Are you a good friend of hers?
Yes, I am.
You knew she didn't have a driver's license?
Yes.
Did you know why she didn't have a driver's license?
She was still studying for a test.
Had she taken the test before?
Yes, she has.
She had taken the test before.
Yes.
Do you remember how many times?
Yes.
How many times did she take the test?
2 times.
And the 2 times she took the test, she failed it?
Yes, she did.
Okay. So now she's driving without a license because she's failed her driving test twice at the time of this. So she's studying to pass it maybe for the 3rd time, right?
Yes.
And now we have 2 years later, she still doesn't have a driver's license.
Yes.
Do you know why?
No.
Well, you're her good friend. Didn't you ask her? Well, it's 2 years later. Did you ever pass your driving test?
She hasn't yet.
Sit. Now tell me what happened at 8 o'clock on the 4th of September, 2020.
I have pictures if you like, and would it be okay to approach the screen to show you better?
No, it's not necessary. You were crossing the street.
Correct.
In a crosswalk, she hit you.
Correct. We were.
You were
That's what
crossing the
happened.
street in a crosswalk, and she hit you.
Yeah. So we had come to the crosswalk sign on the left side of the photo. We pressed the button. It illuminated the flashing lights to indicate that it was okay to cross. We looked to the left. Those 2 cars were already parked. We proceeded to the middle and noticed that the car furthest, in the furthest lane from us, that car was already parked. So we proceeded, and we were hit.
And what happened when she hit? Don't! Hey! Don't speak. Hey! Listen, for someone who can't take and pass a driver's test 3 times, at least I would keep my mouth shut until I look at you for an answer. Do you understand?
Yes.
And it was estimated by the officer that we...
No. She hit you in a crosswalk. That's a crosswalk. This young lady knew I'm not... Did you hear me? I'm not speaking to you. You don't understand this was a really bad day for this kind of case to come into court. You do understand that?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you know why this is a very bad day for your case to come into court?
No.
Then you don't read the newspapers. I suggest if you read the newspaper, maybe you would be able to pass your driving test. Because either you failed the written portion or you failed the driving portion, one or the other. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Now we understand each other. Now you're almost at I'm sorry. You're almost at I'm sorry. When the defendant's car struck you, where did you land?
I have photos to show.
I'd like to see it.
It kind of shows on the second photo there.
Oh, you hit her windshield. Who hit her windshield?
We
Is that you?
both did,
Both.
Your Honor. And the hood.
That's not true. I only saw that her husband, that he hit the shield. It wasn't her.
What an idiot. Wow. Kevin, I would like you to show Miss Santiago that photograph and this one. Can I see the police report, please?
Sure.
See?
I'd also like you to show her these. I just want her to take a look at them. To know what happens when you act irresponsibly. And you do things that you're not supposed to do, like take a car and drive it when you have no license, when you failed your driving test twice.
Lisa Hildreth and Reza Mahasani are accusing 20-year-old Jennifer Santiago of hitting them in a crosswalk while she was driving without a license.
Okay, your last name is?
Giles?
You spoke to the police that day.
Yes, I did.
I don't know what you're doing here as a witness. She stated she did not see what happened. That's what it says here.
Yeah.
Now, just a second. That's what it says here. Uncross your arms. Now you can sit down. Gillis stated she did not see what happened. However, she identified Miss Santiago as the driver. And then there was a witness. Witness 1 stated she was riding as a passenger in a vehicle driving northbound on the 3100 block of Carlsbad Boulevard. The two plaintiffs were crossing the road in a marked crosswalk on the south side of the intersection of Carlsbad Boulevard and Oak Avenue. The two were crossing from the west side of the street to the east side of the street. The yellow warning lights next to the crosswalk were flashing.
They were not.
Witness 1 observed Plaintiff 1 driving northbound towards the crosswalk at a fast speed. She drove through. I'm speaking, not you.
I was not.
I'm speaking, not you. I'm reading from a statement in the police report from a witness who stopped when this accident happened that you don't know. Neither do you. Okay, so now we have a witness who neither one of you know, who said the yellow lights were flashing. Even if they weren't, there's a crosswalk and there are signs that said pedestrian. But this witness says the lights were flashing. Then the officer who did a blood test there for alcohol states as follows. During the investigation, P1, that would be you, displayed objective symptoms of intoxication. I noticed her eyes were slightly red and watery. Her speech was very quiet. I determined P1 was under the influence of cannabis.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. Do you have any supplementary police reports?
The only other thing that I have from the officer is an email that he...
No. Okay. An email to whom?
An email from the police officer to us.
I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what you said to the police officer was, and the police officer responded to you, that the report came back negative.
Correct.
And he said, I'm not changing it. Therefore, it's not a criminal matter. You have to sue her civilly.
Correct.
Because clearly the accident was her fault.
Correct.
Were you taken to the hospital that day?
We both were.
And you were taken to jail?
Yeah.
When was the last time you took a driving test? Month and year?
I haven't taken no driving test.
When was the last time you took a driving test, madam? You failed twice. So I want to know when the last time was that you took a driving test.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Did you take a driving test in the year 2021?
Yeah, I did.
Did you pass that driving test?
No.
Was that your third or fourth driving test?
That was the second.
No, you took two, according to your friend, before 2020.
I know.
So I asked you, in 2021, did you take it? You said yes, you didn't pass it. And I asked you, was that the third or the fourth test that you had?
That was my second.
No. I don't know how much more that a court system can do, but to say to people who don't have driver's licenses, especially in your case where you tried to get a license but failed to pass on at least 2 occasions before this incident, which means that you were a risk to be on the road because you couldn't pass a driving test twice before this incident. Now you want to tell me whether you, and this requires a short answer, not one of your long ones. Did you have your mother's permission to take the car that day to pick her up and go to the beach?
No.
Have you ever had your mother's permission to take the car and go anywhere?
No.
So in effect, if you had no license and you didn't ask for permission, then you stole the car.
No.
What do you mean no? You didn't have permission of the owner to take the car. You weren't a licensed driver. Therefore, there was no insurance. Well, let's go back. Did you ever ask your mother to use the car?
No, not at all.
And what happened after you had this accident in your mother's car and after you got out of jail? What happened between you and your mother?
Well, she was sad because I was in jail, and well, she was also mad because, like, why would I take the car without her permission?
Why did you take the car without her permission?
Well, I honestly didn't thought that this would happen.
Nobody thinks that an accident is going to happen. I don't think you intentionally hit these 2 people.
No.
I don't think you intentionally hit these 2 people. Are you ready to say I'm very sorry yet?
Yeah, I told them we have talked before, I told them that I was sorry, and I'm telling them again that I'm sorry.
Good. That's better. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm really pleased with the judge's decision.
I didn't see anything until the guy hit the windshield.
So we're here and we're grateful for that.
I was super scared. I killed them. I was crying in jail.
We both have to deal with physical injuries, but like Lisa said, it was the unluckiest and luckiest moment of our life. So we're grateful that we're here.
Being pretty close to 18 myself, I can understand.
Michael Griniger is suing truck mechanic Sean Antle for a truck engine and repair costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2022, Griniger versus Antle.
Thank you. Mr. Griniger, how long have you and the defendant been friends?
I've known Sean probably maybe 3 or 4 years now.
From where?
He lives about 3 blocks away from me. I've met him through another friend that told me he worked on his vehicles before.
You did mechanical work?
Yes.
What kind of business are you in?
Construction, you name it, anything construction.
And you have a couple of trucks?
Yes.
How many?
I have one commercial vehicle and then I just have a Chevy Avalanche.
The commercial vehicle, would you describe it to me? That's the one he was supposed to work on?
Yes.
Describe it to me, please.
It's a 16-foot box truck.
How old?
97.
1997.
Yes, ma'am.
It's as old as Sarah. And I suppose it needed a little work.
Yes.
And you took it to your friend.
Yes.
Did you drive it over there to his house 2 or 3 blocks away? Did you have it towed over to his place?
We had to have it towed over there. It was operable before.
But you had it towed?
Yes.
Yeah. And what month and year did you have it towed there?
I believe this started in June of 2020.
And Mr. Antle, you looked at it and you determined it needed a new engine.
Well, I looked at it. Actually, I did some work prior to that. The intake manifold gasket was...
You mean before June of 2020?
Yes.
And then the truck was running? Then he took back...
Running very crappy.
So it was not running well even after you fixed it?
After I put the intake gasket on, I had it started, it made the same noise. We decided to put an engine in it.
Okay, so it wasn't working after the initial work you did on it?
No.
Decided to put an engine in it. Now, how much was it to work on the engine?
He gave me a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. It was not all in one lump sum.
How much did he give you?
It was 100 here once, 100 twice, a couple different times, you know.
How much money did you give him?
800.
How much did you quote him for the whole job?
1,000.
So he gave you 800, and according to the papers that Mr. Griniger filed, he also purchased an engine.
Yes.
And this was in June of 2020.
I didn't get the motor at my house until I'm trying to think. It was in the winter, it was in December.
Of 2020?
Yes, 2020, yep.
Do you have the date that you purchased the engine?
Yes.
What was it?
January 7th, 2021.
Okay, so the truck sat on his property for 6 months.
Yes.
I told him 2 or 3 months prior to that.
Okay, so it was sitting there for 3 months or 4 months?
Yes.
And he'd already paid you the $800?
He gave me a little bit here and there, yes.
They already paid you the $800 towards the $1,000. So this is what the case is about. The truck has never been fixed. He doesn't have the engine anymore. Before you got the engine, which was needed to fix it.
Yes. He said it was the intake plenum.
Was that in June of 2020?
Yeah, that's when it began. That's the whole...
Okay. When did he tell you that you needed an engine? In what month? Do you recall?
That was in January.
So the truck sat there, and finally you told him that it needed a new engine, but it was already sitting there for months. Scrapped the engine according to him, so you want what you paid for it, the engine.
Yes, Your Honor.
First of all, Mr. Ansel said, well, he worked on another truck for you, a smaller truck, and so that ate up the $800, and you didn't come for the engine, and finally he just sold it for scrap. Mr. Antel, were you very busy during this period of time?
Not really, no.
Well, could you tell me why it took 3 months for you to tell him that he needed a new engine?
He knew after I put the plenum gasket back on. I called him on the phone.
What month?
It had him in November, right before Thanksgiving.
So at the end of November. So you had the truck since June. June, July, August, September, October. You had the truck 6 months. Could you tell me why?
Why? I had problems with it. I couldn't get the bumper off. I couldn't do none of that.
Well, but that's your responsibility. You undertook a job.
Yeah, I took the job because he was supposed to help me, and he never did.
He was supposed to help you put in the new engine?
Help me get the bumper off, and then I had problems with the city of Brooklyn Center.
No. He was supposed to help you get the bumper off, and because you couldn't get the bumper off, you couldn't do the engine. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, because it was rusted solid.
Shh. I assume, I've read your papers, I assume this is the mechanic that you say helped you work on another car for him that you gave money to?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why he's here.
Yep.
Okay. In what month and year did you fix this other car?
January
of 2021.
2022.
So in January 2022, the truck was where?
The Avalanche.
The big one.
At his house, at Mike
And he
Rager's.
brought you another truck?
Yes.
Which other truck did he bring you in?
The Chevy Avalanche.
The big truck, the commercial truck, is now back at his house.
Yes.
And it went back to his house because they were going to tow it from the city.
Yes.
And you say in January, he then brought you a different truck.
Yes, of 2022.
That you worked on.
Yeah, completed it.
Just a second. Do you recall that, sir?
No, it's not exactly how it went.
Did you, in January of 2022, did you bring him, you had the big commercial truck back at your house because it had to be moved.
Yep.
You hadn't gotten your $800 back.
Nope.
And he still had the engine.
Yep.
In January of this year.
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is
sorry.
an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix?
Sean Ansel owes for a truck engine and repair costs. Sean is countersuing, claiming Michael filed a false police report against him.
Now, you hadn't gotten your $800 back.
Nope.
And he still had the engine.
Yep.
In January of this year.
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is
sorry.
an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix?
Because then I had absolutely no transportation. I needed something to work.
Just a second. You have a big truck, you had a little truck. So the big truck is now immobile, it's at your house. And the only working vehicle that you had needed work on it.
Yes.
So you brought it to him.
Yep.
Not yep. That's
yep.
yes.
Yes.
And he worked on it.
Yes.
Because it was inoperable.
No, it was operable, but he told me that.
Not he told you. You didn't bring it to him because he told you you were having trouble with it.
Yes.
What kind of trouble were you having with it?
There was a grinding.
Oh, that's a big deal. Grinding sound.
Yes.
What parts did it need?
Well, he told me it was the transfer case.
Did he fix your truck?
Eventually, but it was the rear end.
Just a second. Eventually, did he fix, take your hands out of your pockets, did he fix the truck? The second one? The smaller one?
Yeah.
The one that you needed for transportation?
Yes, eventually, yes, he did. He put in a rear end.
Okay. Did you pay him for that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How much did you pay for that?
$300.
How long did he have it?
Oh, he did that within about a week.
2 days.
2 days. Okay. So it took you 2 days?
Yes.
Did you give him a bill for that work?
I didn't give him nothing. Just a word of mouth.
He says that he gave you $300 to fix that car. Did he give you $300 to fix that car?
No, he did not.
Okay, do you have any proof?
$600 altogether.
Just a second. Would you please show me any proof that you have that you gave him $300 to fix that car?
I don't have proof of the money that I gave him. I just have the receipt.
He doesn't got it. Okay.
I just have the receipts for the parts that I bought for the vehicle.
Okay.
He first said it was the transfer case. I buy a transfer case.
Doesn't matter. He's working, so.
Yeah, but I paid him to do something. He took something apart of the truck. It wasn't even the problem. But yet I still paid him for it.
But this, quite honestly, I don't
And
understand.
then I paid him for the rear end, too.
I don't understand a couple of things.
Okay.
If I've been disappointed by a workman, as you clearly were, from June 2020 until January 2022, because they hadn't completed a job for you, despite the fact that you purchased the part, I wouldn't call that same mechanic back. I wouldn't call that same plumber back. I wouldn't call that same electrician back because I'd had a bad experience with them. So it confounds me as to why you would take another vehicle to him if you were so dissatisfied with his work.
Understandable.
Yeah. Well, so why?
Felt like I was in a tight spot, and I really couldn't
What kind of
afford.
tight spot were you in? Where do you live?
I live in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, that's a big town. There are lots of mechanics there. There are lots of auto repair, truck repair.
Yeah, but I really financially couldn't afford legitimate.
Well, that's what happens when you deal with a legitimate. But I don't understand why an otherwise intelligent man would take his only semi-operating vehicle to the same person who had his truck for a year and didn't fix it. Listen, what'd you do with his engine?
I scrapped it.
Okay. Don't be mad at me.
Huh?
Don't be mad at me.
I'm not. I love you.
Okay, good. Thank you. When did you scrap it?
The end of April of 2022.
Did you give him any notice that you were going to scrap his engine?
No, I did not. There's a false police report made against me.
Okay.
I have the case number and the officer's number.
Okay, just a sec. So you retaliated because that's your counterclaim, that he filed a false police report, as a result of which, and the false police report said that during the course of a heated argument about this truck, that he says that you pulled a gun and...
Did not.
Filed a police report.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Joe?
You did.
Prove it. You can't.
Mr. Rantel. And that's your counterclaim, that he filed this false police report and nothing ever came of it except you were embarrassed by being questioned by the police in front of family members.
Yes.
And as a result of that false police report, you threw away his motor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, you can't do that. That you can't do. How much did you pay for the motor, sir?
$690 plus I paid $100 for delivery of the motor.
I'd like to see the invoice for that.
I got the invoice for the motor, but
That's all I need.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. Rantel, so that we're clear, you have to understand you can't get even by selling somebody else's property.
I didn't.
What you do?
I didn't sell it. I gave it away.
It doesn't matter. By disposing of. Let's make it disposing of. When you say you scrapped it, you mean nobody gave you $10 for it?
Not a dime.
Okay, then you can't give it away in retaliation for his filing.
Why not? It was in my possession.
No, because he took...
Try to put me in jail for not something I didn't do.
Just a second. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. You cannot sell someone else's property in retaliation for them doing something to you when you have legal recourse. Your legal recourse is to come here and file a case. You did it as a counterclaim and say he filed a false police report against me that I was using a gun. So that's what you do. The response to that isn't, I'm going to sell his property. That's not your response. You know, when I used to sit in family court, I had young people, one of whom was selling drugs for a very long time, heavy drugs. Kid, 15, 16 years old. And he had 6 or 7 priors for selling heavy-duty drugs. And I tried that case, and there was no question he was selling drugs. And his lawyer's argument at the disposition stage of that case was he was selling drugs because his grandmother died. I said, I lost all my grandparents, and I was close to my grandparents. I did a lot of things. I grieved, lost my appetite for a while. I was sad, but I didn't sell drugs. So when somebody does something to you that you believe is against the law, your responsibility is you file a case against them.
Right.
You proceed legally against them. You don't take it out in another way, because that doesn't make a civilized society. Just doesn't. That makes sort of a vigilante kind of thing. So you shouldn't do that. So you have to pay him for his engine. Now, as far as the second piece of your case is the $800 that you gave him, I have no idea how much it was to fix your second car, but he did in fact fix it. And since you had no particular agreement with him on how much it was, and according to you, you couldn't deal with someone, you didn't have the funds to deal with someone who was, I think the word was legitimate.
Legitimate.
That's a problem that I can't resolve for you. Now let's get to this argument and his counterclaim. The argument that you had was over the truck.
The white truck? Yes.
Any truck. I don't care what.
Yes.
I'm not a truck girl myself. I like 4-door comfortable sedans. And this argument took place on what date? Why don't you tell me, Mr. Rantel, because this is your counterclaim.
It was the end of April.
End of April of 2022.
Yes.
And the police were called.
No, ma'am.
Yes, the police were called. They showed up at my place.
No, the police report is 7/25/22.
7/25/22.
May I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor.
That's a lie, because it was April.
I'm going to look at it. Just a second. Yeah, time of occurrence, April 22nd, 2022. It was April.
Yeah.
Yes, I got him.
Truck mechanic Sean Antle of wrongfully selling his engine and threatening him. Sean claims Michael accused him of flashing a gun he never owned.
Now, I'm going to look at it. Just a second. Yeah, time of occurrence, April 22nd, 2022. It was April.
Yeah.
Yes, I got him.
You have a driver's license?
It's currently suspended.
How long has it been suspended, Mr. Gruniger?
About a year now.
What were you doing driving a vehicle?
I wasn't. They were towing the vehicle with a tow chain.
I understand that. But you drive a vehicle, sir.
I was steering the vehicle.
What does that mean, you were steering the vehicle?
Driving it.
The vehicle moving at 4 miles an hour.
I don't care if it was running backwards. I just asked you. You have no license because according to the police, you having a driver's license would be inimical to public safety. That's what it says here. Now, why is that? Have you had accidents in the past? Yes.
Yes.
Serious ones? Yes. Okay. You don't need a truck, you don't need a car. You have no driver's license.
No, ma'am. Me and my son, we work construction together. He drives.
Do you know how old I am? Do you have any idea how old I am? You think that I believe that? It's only going 4 miles an hour. I will set the rules of what it is that means driving. You go 5 miles an hour, it's really not
driving. He lives
driving.
3 blocks away from him. We were just
I don't care.
Towing it down the street.
I don't care whether you were in the kitchen, he was in the laundry room. And when you spoke to the police, Mr. Griniger, there were 2 other witnesses, and you would not give them the last name or contact information for either of them. Is that right? That's what it says here, unless it's calling the police.
Yeah, I didn't know his last name.
And you wouldn't give them your son's name because you say he doesn't like police.
And that I want to make straight. That is not true. I would not tell a police officer my son
Should be noted that Griniger stated that Michael Jr. would not give a statement because he didn't like police.
Right.
As well as Griniger would not give the phone number for Michael Jr. I'm just telling you, I'm reading you what you handed me. It's your evidence.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Okie dokie. Did you make an application, Mr. Griniger, for any sort of protective order against him?
No.
No. You were advised by the police that you could do that if you wanted to.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, that report is interesting.
It was you, your son, and this person, Kyle, who were present, and only Mr. Antel. Is that right, when this confrontation took place?
Yes.
And according to you, you got out of your truck and you started walking towards him aggressively. That's according to you.
That's not true. He's 40 feet away from me.
No. According to you, I'm reading you what your police report says, sir.
Yeah, but
I'm reading what your police report says based upon what you told the police at the time back in April.
It's not entirely correct.
Griniger stated that he started advancing towards Antel. Griniger also stated that he called Antel while he was walking towards him. It should be noted that Griniger stated, and this is all on body cam, that he was walking towards Antel aggressively. Griniger stated that Antel then pulled what he described as a black handgun out of his sweatshirt pocket. He described it as black and silver trim. He stated that he did not point it or say anything, just showed it to him to make you aware that he was carrying. And after the police interviewed both of you and confirmed the 2 people with you were out and you were walking and confronting him aggressively, called his names, and could not confirm the fact that he had a gun, took out a gun, not pointed it to you, just showed you that he had it, they decided to do nothing. That's what you're telling me. That's what this report says.
Yeah, they didn't validate it as a threat.
They did not validate it at all.
Right.
Okay, so, Mr. Antel.
Yes.
What happened after that report is that police officers came to your house to ask you about that.
Yes.
Right? And you said, related practically the same thing that Mr. Griniger did to the police, that he approached you, that he called you a name, that he was aggressive. You said all of that.
Yes.
But you said you did not have a gun.
That's right.
Okay. And this is not meant to hold you criminally responsible for anything. Mr. Antel, have you ever had possession of a gun?
No.
Ever in your life?
No.
Did you ever purchase a gun?
No.
In your state, in order to purchase a gun legally, do you have to go through a process or is it a carry state?
You gotta go through a legal process.
You have to?
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever arrested for carrying a gun?
No.
Other than your statement that he showed you that he had a gun, and how far was he standing from you?
About 40 feet.
40 feet away. And you saw him take something out of his sweatshirt pocket.
He didn't remove it out of his pocket. He removed his hand covering it.
What does that mean?
It was in his pocket. He was wearing a hoodie.
How do you know it was in his pocket? What do you have, X-ray vision?
No, my son seen it because his vehicle was right alongside his vehicle. So my son seen it, and then when he got back in his car and pulled up another 10 feet and got out of his car, turned around and said, yeah, bring it, and a few expletives, and then pulled his hand out of his hoodie pocket and revealed the handle of the gun.
Just a second. So you're saying at that time you saw it?
Yes.
You saw it, not your son
My
40
son
feet away.
Seen it
not son 40 feet away.
That's a lie.
But you saw
He reached in and grabbed it and put it in his sweater because when he got back out of the car to face me is when he decided to show me he had a gun.
Okay. Were you out of your truck at the time?
Yes, I was standing beside
Okay,
him.
so you were out of your truck. And what about your son? Was he out of the truck?
Nope.
He was in. What about Kylie?
He remained in the truck, too. He was the one in front pulling the truck that I was steering, and he was following behind. It was a little convoy.
And Mr. Rantel was by himself?
Yes. He was driving down the street in the opposite direction.
Mr. Rantel, I am not satisfied, quite frankly, and cannot make a determination whether or not you had a gun or what appeared to be a gun or what appeared to be something in your pocket or whether you even moved your hand in your pocket to demonstrate maybe you had a weapon. I don't find that the acts that you allege that he committed by filing this false police report is something that I can justify giving you a financial award for, because I'm not so sure that you didn't have something in your pocket. I'm not sure. In any event, Mr. Rantel, you owe him for the engine that you discarded in a peak. You can't do that. Cost of the engine was $590, right? $590. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
Your Honor.
We're done.
Court is adjourned.
I was kind of in a hard spot. I needed my truck fixed.
Try to push me and push me.
I trusted him.
It didn't work today. I won.
Truck is inoperable. It's sitting in my backyard.
I worked for what he gave me.
So I really couldn't afford, like I said, a legitimate shop or a mechanic.
I've never owned a pistol.
Yeah, he's lying.
Basically, if I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight with my bare hands.
Don't do anything without any receipts.
Our friendship is through.
It's really hard when you have two difficult people, but there was something about what he said that had the ring of truth to it.
Very honest.
A directness. And I'm really not convinced. Were you?
No, I wasn't either.
That he had a gun.
It could have gone either way, and while I believed his outburst of innocence, I couldn't imagine making something like that up, but maybe that's just me. So it was really difficult. I don't think I could have made a determination either way either.
Yeah, and I think the answer is here. If you can't make a decision one way or another, it's not supposed to be a guess. It's supposed to be by some evidence.
Yeah.
But you can't sort of take the law into your own hands, and if you filed a police report, I'm going to scrap his engine. That's inappropriate. But with regard to the $800 that he paid him, there's no question he worked on the other truck. And he said he worked on it for 2 days.
To drive it.
And the plaintiff didn't have a license to drive it anyway.
Yeah.
And Sarah, didn't he say, I needed one functional vehicle? So something like that.
We'll have to get Whitney to read it back.
Yeah.
Case number 2061, Laura versus Burke. All parties, please step forward.
Michael Lara is suing car seller Donald Burke for a vintage car title.
Mr. Lara,
Yes, Your Honor.
you had a truck,
Yes.
and that truck was a 2007
Yes, Your Honor.
Nissan Frontier.
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in 2019.
From whom?
From a private owner. I don't have his name, but I purchased it over on an auto app.
So you found it online?
Yeah.
So it's still online. How much did you pay for the car in 2019?
In 2010, I paid, I paid $10,000.
I don't believe that. Let's try it one more time, Mr. Lara. Exactly how much did you pay for the car in 2019?
$10,000, Your Honor.
Show me a bill of sale.
I don't have that bill of sale from back then.
Okay.
I have only the title that I had.
Okay. Let's assume for the moment that that's almost accurate, because the truck is now worth
somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000.
So that would be a depreciation. So now it's worth $8,000.
Okay.
You decided to sell it.
Correct. To trade it.
And you put an ad online to sell it?
Yes, I did.
You, Mr. Burke, had a 1947 classic Chrysler sedan.
Yes.
When did you get that?
Beginning of the year.
Beginning of
22.
And where did you get it from?
A car dealer had it for sale.
Car dealer where?
Montclair, California.
You remember the name of the car dealer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
But it was the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
And was it an ad online?
No, I was driving by and saw the car. I kind of liked the way it looked.
How much did you pay for it?
$12,500.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No.
That was just this year. Why don't you have a bill of sale?
I have the registration and title.
I don't need the registration and title. I need a bill of sale.
I don't have one.
Difference when you buy it from a private party. But if you buy, do you have, it was the beginning of January. How did you pay for the car?
Cash.
Cash. Do you have a withdrawal from your bank of $12,500 to show me?
No, I don't.
Well, how do you expect me to decide this case? You have a claim, you have a counterclaim. Nobody has any proof. How do you expect me to decide? Each of you is suing the other for $10,000 without any proof of anything. How do you expect me to decide that?
Correct, Your Honor.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Michael Lara claims car seller Donald Burke owes him the title to a vintage car. Donald is countersuing, claiming Michael broke their agreement.
Okay. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a 2001 GMC truck.
No. You have his car.
Oh, yes, I have his car. Yes,
You
Your Honor.
have his car.
Yes.
And you have his truck.
Yes.
What do you want me to do?
I wasn't the one that started this.
Okay, Your Honor.
He doesn't have the title.
Well, he never produced the money that he was supposed to produce.
I have his title to his vehicle. He signed it over to me, and he gave me the keys as well.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything. Well, I want you have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck.
Correct, Your Honor.
My question to you is, you have the title to his car. He paid, let's assume he's correct, that he paid $12,500 for the car in the beginning of 2022. That car, which is a classic car, is now for sale, because I looked it up, I don't remember the numbers, for?
Between $18,000 and $60,000 on the high end of what I've seen.
Okay, so it's worth considerably more than what you paid for it. Roughly $10,000 more than what you paid for it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't know him, do you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
There would be no reason why he would make you a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have the title for that car.
Yes.
Because you say, according to you, that he didn't fulfill his promise,
Correct.
his contract, to pay you an additional amount for it. Now, you say he agreed to pay you an additional $10,000 for it.
Yes.
I don't know that because none of it's in writing. Anybody have any proof of that?
No, Your Honor.
No. Good. And you want your car back.
I would just...
You want your car. Well, I'm not giving you $10,000. I want you to just understand that.
Yes.
Because you have no proof here of anything that satisfies me. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
I want your $10,000.
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
You'd rather than have your car back. And
I'm sorry.
you have the car.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you put in some money in the truck.
Yes, the catalytic converters were bad.
How much money did you put into the truck?
$2,165.
Okay. And you have proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Can I help him?
I don't need you for anything.
Here. And it still needs another $2,165 for the other side.
And you have the title to the car, is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you want nothing or do you want your truck back, even though he added money to it? Do you want nothing or do you want your truck back? That's my question to you. You want nothing or you want your truck back?
My truck.
Great. And you want your car back?
Yes.
Perfect. And both of you have agreed, because there was clearly some misunderstanding between the two of you, giving you the total benefit of the doubt, sir, that there was additional money to be forthcoming. I'm speaking. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't. I put
very
$2,000 into his truck.
very easy. Very easy, sir. You're getting back a car that you say is worth, she says, is worth $20,000.
Your Honor. Sorry.
It's not going to work for you. You're going to each end up with your own cars back. Since there was clearly a misunderstanding about the nature of the contract, what I'm telling you is I'm going to prepare an order that within 5 days of today's date, you are to exchange cars. Figure out where you want to do that, a mutually convenient place. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
Not even the $2,000 I put into his truck?
Goodbye.
This way, sir.
You can sell your 47 for a lot more money.
I didn't bring us here. He brought us here.
I like this car. He liked my truck. When I got there, we did the exchange. He signed the titles. He gave me the keys to the vehicle.
Well, he gave me a truck that needed a $4,000 repair, and he didn't mention that when he gave it to me. And my car, was nothing wrong with my car.
I have always maintained my vehicle. I have records of it and everything.
I'll just keep my car.
No more business deals.
So So I really agree with you that there was no meeting of the minds because the defendant thought that the plaintiff was going to pay him an additional $10,000 for the 1947 Chrysler, and no one had any proof of anything. So it's really hard to come to court with zero proof on either side. So I think your ruling to leave them how they were found prior to any what they believed to be a contract was the right decision because
I'm so glad you felt that way.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself, looking over the papers, what's she going to do with this one? You know, it's hard because with no proof and a he said, she said verbal agreements with tangible items like vehicles, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't know what to make of this. I have nothing to look at, nothing to rely on.
And it was so interesting because they both bought these cars recently. Neither one of them had bill of sale, said he paid cash, $12,500, showed me where you withdrew the money from a bank. The whole thing was suspicious to me. So to me, the easiest thing to do was leave the parties
as you found them.
As you found them. They had no contract because there was no meeting of the minds as to what the particulars were of the contract. You get your truck back in a little better shape. You get your car back probably in a little better shape and
be on your way.
Moss is suing his former friend, Nadine Drury, for unpaid loans.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, everybody.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Case number 2015, Moss versus Jury.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moss, prior to leasing an apartment with the defendant, had you known each other?
Sort of.
Tell me a sort of.
So we met one time about a year prior. We have mutual friends, one of which had asked me to get ordained to marry her and her husband. So I flew in town to do that, and Nadine was there at their house when I flew in. We saw each other for a few minutes, and that's actually the only time we've ever met in person.
And there came a time when you were looking for an apartment where?
I was looking for an apartment in the Salt Lake area.
And where had you been living?
In Seattle.
And where were you living, Miss Drury?
In Salt Lake City.
You were looking to move?
Yes.
So other than that one-time meeting when you were officiating at a mutual friend's wedding you hadn't met before, but somebody suggested that you were looking for an apartment, you were looking for a new apartment, and perhaps you could rent an apartment together.
Yes, that's
fair statement?
In fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year did that happen?
It would have been in October of 2020 that this arrangement sort of came to be like, hey, maybe you should see if Nadine...
Okay, but you did, in fact, sign a lease together. Who found the apartment?
Nadine did.
You did. Prior to signing the lease, Mr. Moss, had you seen the apartment?
No.
No is the answer. Did you ever see the apartment, other than videos or photographs of it?
No, I never saw
Prior to signing the lease?
Correct.
Also correct?
Correct.
On what date was the lease signed?
On the 7th of November of 2020.
The rent on the apartment was how much?
It was $585 a month each.
$1,170, Your Honor.
So $585 per month each. You both signed it on the same day. Did you move in?
I did.
On deposit to the account to pay the rent?
Yeah, it was an automatic payment from my account to the rental.
To the rental office?
Yes, to the rental office.
Then you came to find that Miss Drury had stopped paying her portion of the rent. When did you stop making payments on your portion of the rent? What date?
November 8th.
And you were still in Seattle?
Correct.
Did you ever move into the apartment?
Never.
Okay, and that is also correct?
Correct.
Because for whatever reason you decided to stay in Seattle?
Correct.
Is that work-related or socially?
Social.
And then you contacted her and told her that you weren't intending to move in?
Correct.
But that you would continue to pay your half of the rent. Is that also correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And you were making a direct...
In January.
So you paid either full or partial for November because you moved in on the 8th, and you paid December's rent.
Correct.
And you stopped paying rent in January. Why?
I lost my job in December of 2020.
So I'm going to outline now what this case is about.
Yes.
Mr. Moss continued paying his half of the rent until you found a roommate.
Correct.
And you found a roommate when?
I believe I found him in February, and he moved in the month of March and started paying his half of the rent.
So you didn't pay rent January or February?
Correct.
2 months?
Correct.
And you had no work?
Correct.
When you found out that the rent wasn't being paid, according to you, in order to not impact your credit, you spoke to her. She said, I don't have a job. You said, I can help you out. I'll send you money Is that generally what happened? Then I'll get
that's
into
generally what happened, but there is a little more detail to it.
I'm going to let you get to the details.
All right.
And you want that money back. The money that you advanced her in her time of need, which was how much in total?
The total is $3,360. She did at some point pay me $300 back, so the amount I am seeking is $3,060.
Okay. Are those figures accurate?
Yes.
And he gave you that money, not because you were good friends, because you were a relative. He had met you one time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, said to you, I will continue to pay my rent, even though I know you from hole in the wall. I will continue because I signed this lease until you find someone to get me off the lease.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your defense, it seems to me, to this action is that he was really trying to scam the government by depleting his bank account so he could collect food stamps or whatever.
No.
And as a result of that, because he wasn't being honest with the government, you shouldn't have to pay him back. I just want to know if that's what I'm reading correctly.
There was never an agreement
No.
to pay back.
That's a different story. I'm going to read this over because, I'm getting elderly, and I may not have recalled exactly what you said in your answer. It doesn't say that here. It says several months later, it's after you found a new roommate, Emmett randomly reached out to me saying that I owed him money and demanded that I take out a personal loan to pay it. I refused. Emmett has some nerve. Not only did he break the lease, well, what difference does that make to you? He still was paying his half of the rent. So now you had a whole apartment by yourself and he was paying the rent, right? So why does he have some nerve? But he took advantage of me and used me to scam the system. So that's what I understand your defense is.
It is. I have video evidence, Your Honor.
Video of what?
Of Emmett.
Of Emmett what?
Of Emmett explaining why he was trying to get on assistance and how he was like, it's fine for you to pay rent with this money because I'm trying to empty my bank account so that I can get on food stamps.
It is true.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. Let's say that's true. He's going, I'm just trying to, shh.
Owes for unpaid loans. Nadine says Emmett broke the lease they were both on.
I'm just trying to get your mindset. I hate people who scam the system. But you got this money from him. And your defense is that he was trying to scam somebody else, so you shouldn't really have to pay him back, even though it was his money.
It was his money.
It was his money that he took out of his bank and gave to you.
Right.
For no reason.
That I never agreed to pay back for a lease that he was legally on. He's responsible for that rent money no matter what.
You mean so you get to live there free?
No,
Well, just a second. So you get to live there free. If he paid for it for the months that you didn't, you got to live there free. He wasn't even living there. It's not as if he was living there and you didn't get to live there free. You lived there alone. And he was paying the rent.
Yes.
Well, why do you think you're not responsible for that once you get back on your feet?
We never talked about a repayment.
No.
That's not.
Okay. Now,
we definitely talked about repayment.
Now, I want you to explain to me and be very careful because, I've been in this system a very long time. So I know about social services and I know about the system and I know about welfare and I know about food stamps. I know all about that. So you contact her.
Yes.
And she tells you she lost her job.
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So I found out through the payment portal that she hadn't paid rent.
Yeah, we're past that.
Okay.
We're
I
past
contacted
that.
her about that. Well, there was.
Don't look up.
Apologies. I sent her money that night.
No. You contacted the portal, and then you had to have had a conversation with her.
Right.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Let's start with you contacted the portal and you found out she hadn't been paying her rent. That was in January.
Correct. January the 2nd.
And January she hadn't paid rent and you called her and she said to you...
She said to me that she didn't have money to pay, which I was aware of because she had previously told me that she... I was aware that she had lost her job.
Just a second. How did you become aware that she had lost her job?
Because we were friendly with each other. We were talking several times a week via Facebook Messenger.
Fine. You knew that she lost her job.
Yes.
And I assume you knew if she lost her job and you were speaking several times a week. Let's be very careful. This isn't just calling the pay portal and finding out that this stranger who you met once wasn't paying her rent. You were speaking and you knew that she had fallen on difficult times. And?
I did. I didn't.
Don't go up here. right here.
I didn't know that she wasn't going to pay rent on time.
No, just a second. You didn't know what?
On the 2nd was when I found out that the rent hadn't been paid.
On the 2nd of January.
2nd of January.
Just look at me. On the 2nd of January, you found out the rent hadn't been paid. What did you do?
So I called Nadine to ask about it, and she told me that she didn't have the money. And so I said, okay, I have these extra funds because I, at the time, was also unemployed. I had been taking payments, unemployment payments, and then the COVID payment.
And what?
The extra payments for COVID on top of unemployment, because this was 2020.
Welcome to Inflation 101.
Right. So all of my payments had been late and had come in a lump sum. So that is why I had extra
So your
money.
unemployment and your COVID funds came in one lump sum.
Correct.
And I want you to think very, very carefully. And you're living where, sir?
Seattle.
With whom?
At the time, I was seeking a roommate.
No. Where were you living?
So I was living in Seattle.
In Seattle with whom?
No one.
By yourself?
Yes. Technically, someone was paying rent because they had moved out.
You're looking up at the sky.
Sorry.
Don't look up at the sky. So somebody had moved out of their apartment.
Yeah.
Which had been prepaid in rent.
Yes.
So you were living there rent-free.
No. This was my apartment that I lived in for 3 years. And someone else had moved in and then moved out. And they broke the lease, not me.
They broke the lease, but they paid the rent.
Correct. They paid their half. I was still paying my half of rent. I never defaulted on my rental payments in Seattle ever.
And they were still paying theirs?
Yes. So we were both each paying our respective parts of the rent. And I was paying rent in Utah.
And you were paying rent where the defendant was living. Okay. So I want you to think very carefully. When you got your unemployment and your extra COVID money in a lump sum, how much did you get?
What?
No, don't look over there. You know exactly how much you got.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. Just give me a number.
$10,000.
Well, that should last you for a little bit. And you got $10,000 on what date?
I don't remember.
Month?
It would have been in November.
Okay, so now she's run out of funds, and you say to her, go ahead.
By the time we get to January, I do not have $10,000. I have much less because of other circumstances.
Like what?
Like needing to purchase a car for the girlfriend that I stayed in town.
A car?
Yes.
What else?
Rental payments. That's it. Nothing.
You bought your girlfriend a car?
I did. Her car that she had was a beater, and it was unsafe.
I don't care. What about your car?
I did use a down. I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars?
No, just one. I didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story. You're living by yourself with a roommate. The roommate moves out. Your girlfriend had a terrible car. You don't live with the girlfriend.
Don't.
But you bought her a car. You didn't have a car, but you bought her a car.
I had, if we need to back it up, I had given up my car in a bankruptcy earlier in the year because of...
In whose bankruptcy?
My bankruptcy.
Your bankruptcy.
That is why I didn't have a car.
It's getting better all the time. Okie dokie.
It was an interesting year.
That doesn't mean you don't owe money. It just means I have to know the characters that I'm dealing with.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay.
Emmett Moss has accused his former friend, Nadine Drury, of refusing to pay back loans. Nadine claims she was used by Emmett to scam the government.
So now you've got much less money from the $10,000. You bought your girlfriend a car, you had to pay her rent, you paid your own rent, you had other things from bankruptcies that you had before, so you have a little bit of money left in the bank.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So
don't look over there, right here. No, look,
that evening of the 2nd, I paid Nadine a total of $710, enough to cover the rent of $585. Any fees it would cost her to go and withdraw that money from the bank. And she also asked for extra money for groceries.
Just a second. You acknowledge a $3,000 amount of money that he gave you. Am I right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
You say that
That
that's correct.
includes the money that he's saying that he spent on rent, that he gave me for rent, and he's also asking for his deposit.
I am
for the,
asking for my
The
deposit.
deposit for the apartment back.
Okay, well, he's entitled to that. You have a new roommate who I'm sure you got a deposit from.
She chose to not
And if you didn't?
collect a deposit from
What?
the roommate.
Well, that's her problem because
I
she's
agree.
going to get the deposit back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's reasonable. She's going to get the deposit back when she leaves. And you leave, if you leave the place in good condition, he was never living there, so if you don't leave it in good condition, then it's on you. I want to know about this video that she wants me to look at, where you tell us some sort of a scheme you have to get more money from the government.
It wasn't a scheme.
Why don't you tell me about it? So far, we got $10,000 that was supposed to last you for 6 months, and you blew it on a coffee your girlfriend. And so you may not call it a scheme. I want you to tell me why you had to have
go into the trades. So it was like a work-study program, like electrician, plumber, that sort of thing. And again, I didn't have a job, and unemployment had
a zero bank account.
I didn't have to have a zero bank account.
A more limited access to money. What were you applying for, sir?
So
not so up here, so here.
Okay. I was applying for a program to completely stopped, and as far
How many years did you collect unemployment?
it was less than 1 year.
How many years had you worked?
How many years have I worked?
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16. So
Well,
it's
I'm
been
surprised
14.
the unemployment totally ran out because they kept extending unemployment. People were on unemployment for years during COVID.
When they cut me off December of 2020, they did not reestablish my claim. I kept applying and it was denied. So I don't know why, but it was.
What kind of work do you do now?
I work for customer service.
Okay. And the trade school that you wanted to go to was to prepare you for what?
To be an electrician was what I wanted to do.
An electrician?
Yes.
And was this an online program?
No, this was in person.
Where?
It was in Seattle.
And how much did they give you to go to that program?
They didn't give me money to go to the program, but the program was free of charge.
Okay. So the government paid the tuition?
I believe that
Well, somebody pays the tuition, sir.
Yeah.
So the government pays the tuition. And while you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, how were you supporting yourself?
So
were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, I applied for food stamps and got food stamps. That is what I got.
So you applied for some sort of assistance while you were going to this trade school, which you're not practicing now, then you're not an electrician.
That is correct.
And in order to apply for food stamps, you have to have a certain amount of money is the maximum you can have in your bank.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's the fraud you're talking about. That's why he gave you the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
just a second.
I also gave her the money because she was going to need the money for rent. Like, it was one of those situations where it was mutually beneficial for me to give her the money, but it wasn't.
You're looking up at the sky. I understand what happened.
So I wasn't going to have any way to support myself. I needed something to the $2,000 was going to cover the rent for my place and my place in Seattle and my place in Utah, and then I wasn't going to have anything left.
I understand that it became mutually beneficial for you to advance her the money so that your bank account would have less in it so that you could receive assistance and also get free tuition at a trade school that you didn't use.
My intention was to use it, and I changed my decision later.
Do you think the trade school charged the government once you enrolled in it?
Yes.
Yes, of course they did. And you know how much the tuition was in the trade school? Yes, you have to know. No, it was free to you, but it wasn't free to the government.
Right,
The government pays.
$1,500 was what I was made to understand.
Baloney. You people really somehow deserve each other, but you owe him $3,000. Madam, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm a little bit shocked to be made out as a government scammer.
I mean, I lost my job and I wasn't able, and he bailed on the lease that he signed.
Because that wasn't ever my intentions.
I mean, I was alone. I had lost my job. I just didn't have any support.
Definitely careful about getting money from the government.
Just glad it's done. Glad I don't ever have to see him again.
Haven't had to do that since this whole situation, and I intend to keep it that way.
You know, it's so unfortunate because that plaintiff looked like an intelligent enough man, able-bodied, seemingly, and he spent a lot of time effort, brain power, into bankruptcy proceedings, trade schools that would be paid for by the government, applying for food stamps, knowing what the threshold for food stamps is so that he had to get rid of a certain amount of money. That seems like a lot of time and effort that could have been better spent gaining legitimate employment or skills at a trade school legitimately. And it's just unfortunate that some people decide to take the path that I view as more difficult in searching for ways to get free money.
Really unsatisfying.
Yeah.
If you think about it, unsatisfying.
Maybe going forward, he'll take a different path.
Maybe.
Boyfriend Willie Albrecht for filing a false police report and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamus's complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when you said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamus?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamus?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Just a minute. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just as the world turns. It's just what happens. I've been there. Understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay. So you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment of divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Had to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Only because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come on, it's simple.
The
It's
rub about
simple.
the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off, and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer-upper.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look
what
at me.
Okay,
so she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house, meaning that we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamus, happened on November 5th.
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son.
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one where I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately that we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was 15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time,
No, don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted...
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door
unlocked.
was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
Nobody there's
Nobody
a bell.
answered.
There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I've since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective...
Right.
And a common sense perspective...
Okay.
You're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
yes,
you don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call, and what happened?
He said he was there, he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay,
You called your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been
No. Listen to me. You went there because, Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney.
Wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own,
yes,
you would have had a key to the house.
Correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True. Of course it's true. So, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
true,
your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument, and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he can take over.
Let the courts decide.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father. One's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. Mm-hmm. She clearly took away his key for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. Mm-hmm. And the fight is over the house because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children.
Is suing her former employer, Kimberly Stewart's, for unpaid wages and defamation of character.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2103, Horn versus Stewart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Horn, it is your allegation that the defendant, for whom you worked for a relatively short period of time, owes you some wages.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to owing you wages, you are suing her because you claim she defamed you by calling you a drug addict.
And she went to my board telling them that I did other acts.
Well, you can't tell me what she told anybody else because that's hearsay.
Could I give you the evidence?
No, you have to wait until I'm finished.
Okay.
That's your claim, that she owes you money for wages that you weren't compensated for and that she defamed you. The defendant says that you were an hourly employee. You were, in fact, paid for the hours that you worked. I assume that you are claiming that she paid for the hours that she worked. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that after you separated, parted company, you posted some very damaging and defamatory comments on the internet about her organization. So why don't we start with you, Ms. Stewart, and tell me what kind of an organization you have.
Your Honor, what we do is that we provide opportunities for people who have substance abuse, behavior health, who may need education services such as getting their GED. We do skills training. We have employers that will staff them as well. And we also provide substance abuse and behavior health services.
Is it a 501c3 organization?
No, we are a for-profit company as a corporation.
And how many employees do you have?
We currently have 7 employees.
And when did Ms. Horn come to work for you, and what was she hired to do?
She was hired as the clinical director, and she started on July 21st, 2022.
Okay, before I go to Ms. Horn, I want you to tell me what special training did you have, or is it required to have? You're the director of this?
I'm the VP of operations.
Okay. Is there any special training that you had?
Besides having the master's in accounting, I have my own accounting firm.
Okay, so you have a master's in accounting and you have your own firm?
Yes.
Okay, and you do operations for this. Okay, and Ms. Horn, I'd like you to tell me what your educational background. You were hired as the clinical director.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me about your educational background.
I've been in the field for 15 years. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I have my LPC, which is an independent licensure. And so when she wanted to do illegal practices...
No. You're getting ahead of yourself, Ms. Horn.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you answer an ad?
Yes, ma'am. I went for the interview, and when I showed up for the interview, she told me that I could not oversee the clinicians, BHTs, and case managers, and that I could not sign off on notes because I had an LPC. I got the board on the phone that day, and
You're getting far ahead of yourself, Ms. Horn, and I'm just telling you, who is this person?
My dad, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm just telling you that what you're doing is, by not just answering my questions, you're not serving your cause well.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't tell me what she told you she couldn't do. You started working for her on what date?
The date that I actually started working for her was July 27th, 2022.
And were you an hourly employee?
No, I was a salary employee. Could I show you?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sarah, would you bring up a July calendar for me? I want to see the days in July.
I have it.
Okay, so this was an offer, and it was a pretty nice job. Paid on a bi-weekly basis, $115,000 a year, with an increase the following year. The work offer was contingent upon a background check.
Yes, ma'am.
A drug test.
Yes, ma'am.
Participation in training, and any other safety measurements for staffing. So between July 21st and July 27th, when you started, was a background check completed?
It was completed.
That's all I wanted to know. Was completed. Was a drug test completed?
Yes,
Not before she started. No.
Just a second. Between July 21st and July 27th was a drug test conducted.
Yes, ma'am.
It was conducted, but on the 28th, her drug test was done on the 28th of July, after she had started.
Okay, so you took it on the 28th.
Yes, ma'am.
I need from the 27th to August 3rd.
Yeah, the 27th was a Wednesday. Yes. August 3rd was the following Wednesday.
Okay, so she worked Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
And then the following
Monday and Tuesday.
The 3rd
No,
would be that Wednesday.
5 days.
No, ma'am. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the last week. Her grand opening was the Thursday of that week that I quit. And what she is talking about, I talked about at the beginning before I took the drug test, and they said that it was no problem. I take medication that's prescribed by doctors, and I have proof that I take medication by doctors, and I'm not a drug addict.
Well, I don't want to get into what medication that you take that's prescribed by doctors. I would assume that we're not talking about blood pressure medication, and we're not talking about medication for migraines, and we're not talking about stuff to take care of rashes on your arm.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's say you worked there for 6 days. How much were you paid?
I was paid $55.29 an hour, but I worked those 7 days.
How much were you paid in total?
So the last paycheck that they gave me, $909.58.
May I see it?
Yes, ma'am. And I want to send up, I think I have the credit card because she had owed me money. And here are the days that I worked.
What is
circled?
Do you have a paycheck?
She did not give me a paycheck. The first one was a paycheck. The others were direct.
I want to know how much she paid you in total. Let's have it.
So for just wages itself,
that's all I want to know.
I was paid.
You want to tell me, do you have records, Ms. Stewart, about how much the plaintiff was paid by your organization?
She received 2 checks. She was paid $1,903.38.
$1,903. And that was for?
When we did the drug test, she was gone for over 5 hours. Drug testing are supposed to be done before or after work hours. Then she returned back to the facility between 4:30 and 5 p.m. that day and said that she had an emergency, that her friend was in the hospital, and so she could not work anytime. Then after that, on the next pay period, Sherna wasn't.
She really only was with you for 1 week.
Yeah.
Stewart for unpaid wages and defamation of character. Kimberly is countersuing for property damage and slander.
So she really only was with you for 1 week.
Correct. And then on the next pay period, because she was paid for those 3 days and the time that she took off, we put her on the hourly rate because she didn't work a solid 2 weeks. But at any rate, we paid her for the time and days she was there. And so we don't owe her any money. She was paid.
Well, you were actually paid almost $2,000 and you were there for 5 days.
What she said was a lie. I never took off time.
Just a sec, I said something. Don't say what she said was a lie. You were paid almost $2,000 and you worked for 5 days.
7 days.
Well, when you went to take your drug test, what time did you leave?
Well, the other person...
Just what time did you leave?
I did not leave from anything. I did it on my own before I started.
So is what you're telling me that the defendant was incorrect when she said that you were gone from the facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything to support that she was gone for 4 hours?
Ma'am, she was gone for half the day because that's when she ran into my office and said, hey, there's some stuff that's going to show up. Will I be fired? Or am I going to have a job? So
when did you have that discussion with her?
That was on the 28th of July.
Did you ask her what substances?
Yes.
Did she tell you?
Yes.
Okay. From my information, Ms. Horn, yes, how much do you think, in addition to the $19.03 that you were paid, do you think you're owed?
10 hours, ma'am.
10 hours. Which 10 hours?
That's from the week of the second week, not the first week, because I never left. I actually stayed late the day before their grand opening because she ordered a sofa.
Are you charging her for those hours that you stayed late?
Yes, because that's work.
No. Okay. What else? Right now we're just playing with time.
I passed everything and I was told I would be fine.
Just a second. Who told you that? She?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she tell you would be fine?
I went to her. I said, there's going to be a drug test. Here's the medications that I take.
On what date did you tell her that?
About the 28th, yeah.
On the 28th, did you tell her that on the 21st?
No.
I'm just asking you.
No, because what happened that day was it was a confused interview where I was about to walk out.
Okay. Well, I'm getting unconfused. So you went into her before she got the results of the test and asked her specifically, these are the medications that I take. This is what's going to show up. Is it going to be a problem?
This is common, Your Honor.
Is who? This
is common in my field. To take drug tests before all the field.
You're going to answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, if you knew that it might have been a problem, you did not tell that to her on the 21st of July or the 22nd or the 23rd or when you started, but not until either right before or right after you took the drug test. That's when you said you went into her office and said, these are the medications that I take. Is it going to be a problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Horn, actually, I'm glad you're here with your daughter.
May I talk to her for a minute?
No.
Okay.
You may not talk to her.
Could I show you a picture of the inside of the facility of what happened in that facility, please?
No. You left. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
find that the records are so, actually, you don't have records, unless that's something that you want to show me. You wanted to show me something about your employment hours? You were paid almost $2,000 for the few days you worked there. As far as I'm concerned, it didn't work out. You hated it there, and she wasn't crazy about you.
Because I had to leave because I was going to be violating state law and federal law, which she's already done, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask you, and you've been doing what you're doing for 15 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what job you had that lasted more than 3 years.
I've moved
Tell me who you worked for in the last 15 years, more than 3 years.
I can't because I was in graduate school and then I went to
So you weren't,
PhD.
just a second, so you weren't in this field for 15 years, you were in school.
I've been seeing clients since 2007.
Privately?
No.
Well, what I asked you is, who did you work for in the last 15 years, more than 3 years?
University.
Is that where you went to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you went to school for how many years?
5 years.
Your father wants to have a word with you before I'm finishing up with this case. You want to have a conversation with her?
You're blowing it. You answer her question directly and don't go anywhere else.
Okay.
Was that helpful?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're leaving the salary that you think you're owed. You say that the defendant called you a drug addict and thereby limited your ability in your chosen field. So show me, tell me.
I would like to submit the board allegations because everything...
Just a second.
And may I provide the timeline for what happened?
What I want to know is, what is this?
That is a falsified document.
No, just say it is a document.
To my board stating that I did things that I did not do. I highlighted the bottom.
To your board or to the board?
Shh. Okay, so this says a complaint was filed against you with the Arizona Board of Behavioral Health. Complaint alleges that you may have committed an act of unprofessional practice. If this is somebody filed a complaint against you.
She lodged a false complaint.
Shh. No, somebody lodged a complaint against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't say who lodged a complaint against you. It says a complaint has been filed. You didn't file this document.
Yes, she did.
Excuse me?
It's her signature at the bottom.
The types of documentation that were filed was list of medications, harassing and threatening emails and text messages, and budget left in desk. I don't know what that means.
She said I had all of my possessions, but how did she only have my budget?
I'm telling you that this is what it says.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? The CEO filed this document, and you swore to the accuracy of this document. Well, this report says that you were complaining that the person who was doing intake had to have a master's level. Don't look at any papers. That's what you were complaining.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
your first complaint.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
the person doing intake, and somebody said to you that the person who was doing intake was just taking basic information, and once the basic information was taken, they would be assigned to somebody else. But that's
Your
what
Honor,
it said.
She said that she wanted to get some substance use information. My state board gave me this paper that I'd like to submit.
Just a second. I don't care about your state board, actually. The question is, does she owe you any money? She doesn't owe you any money for salary. I've already determined that. I see what she's supposed to pay you. It's not that you were working there for days. You have hours that you think you want to be paid for. That's not happening. You were paid almost $2,000, and what I gather was a very acrimonious few days. I mean, you're talking about either 5 days or 7 days. You were compensated. Forget it.
Has accused her former employer, Kimberly Stewart, of defaming her. Kimberly claims Sharna caused property damage and slandered her business.
Okay, the only other thing that I have to determine is whether or not she called you a drug addict. Now, would you show me where she called you a drug addict?
It wasn't just the drug addict. It was the false documents that I
No. She's allowed to file a complaint against you,
But I
madam.
never had a police officer come to me, question me, or anything. So if I did it, they would have come to me.
Just a second. What I'm telling you is she is allowed to file a complaint against you.
Yes, ma'am.
They have a responsibility to look into the allegations of that complaint. Did they either sustain the allegations in this complaint? Well, this is just August, so I assume they haven't completed the investigation, or have they?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so they have not.
That's why I'm filing defamation, because this is doing it on purpose.
I'll let you have one more go at it. You say she's doing this on purpose.
Hold on.
Do you have...
Yes, I have my father, who's a witness from court one day.
What court?
Explain.
Don't speak.
We were in court because they tried to file an injunction for harassment, and the judge, my dad...
Just a second. Went to file an injunction against you for harassment?
Yes, ma'am. Right after I went to the police.
Just a second. And were you served with a document?
No, ma'am.
Well, then how did you end up in court?
I saw the document on my door, and unlike the defendant, I went to the court to take care of it. You can laugh all you want, but I took care of it.
You have to be served with it.
I'm actually finished. I asked one question, and you tell me that you have the answer to that question. We're going to repeat the question. Whitney's going to, and don't go off on this question. Just stick to what the question was. She said they did this thing, it's sort of either retaliation or on purpose, or...
She said that's why I'm filing defamation, because she's doing it on purpose.
On purpose. Okay, and it was the on purpose, and you said you wanted your father to testify to that and on purpose. Now go. Stand up next to your daughter. You are limited to the following. You are limited to telling me proof that you have on behalf of your daughter that the defendant has filed these charges against her, not on purpose, because she absolutely did them on purpose, but I assume that you meant maliciously.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll hear you.
Okay, I'm going to keep this in
Maliciously. What evidence do you have that the defendant filed this complaint and swore to this complaint maliciously?
I have no proof, but...
Then you have no proof. Then you can sit down.
Right, but that's not the question she asked.
All I want to know is maliciously. Now you can sit down. Okay, now we're going to get to the last question that I have for you, and then we're done. Do you have anything in writing where she called you a drug addict?
Your Honor, in the complaint to my board.
Okay, we're done. We're done. So now we're on your case. Now we're on your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for property damage. What property?
I will show you the documentation to the counterclaim.
Just a second. Don't tell me that you have documentation. It's a shattered window. When was the window shattered?
The window was actually shattered on August and let me make sure I get you accurate dates. I'm sorry.
Did you witness it being shattered?
No, ma'am.
If you didn't witness it being shattered, what proof do you have that if... Put your hand down.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down.
I don't have it up.
Oh, put it down. Very good. Better.
We don't have witness.
If you don't have witness, then you don't have proof.
Okay.
Any other property damage? Shattered window? Anything else?
It was a broke lock. The day that she was, can I say this?
No. I'm very easy.
No, I'm saying the day that she came out to and sent the police to our facility on a Saturday, the lock, I saw her leaving that day, and our lock was broken off of our gate.
All I want to know is, did anyone witness her either?
No.
Then the answer is no. Do you have any security footage of her?
I do.
Put your hand down.
She said she had...
Put your hand down.
You're going to see the video.
No.
Not the video. She stated in a document she had video of it.
Just a second.
Oh, gosh.
I don't think you understand the court process. So I'm not going to tell you. I dismissed your case, and I'm getting very close to dismissing hers. I'm dismissing those parts of her complaint which allege property damage because she has no witnesses that you, in fact, committed property damage. There's no reason for you to continue looking up papers. Your case is dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. It's about
very clearly. Now, the last part of this case has to do with the defendant's allegation that you, in fact, defamed her organization. I'd like to see in writing what you have to prove to me that the plaintiff defamed your organization.
Yes,
I want you to... I didn't ask you for anything. Now it's her proof. Do you understand? What I'm telling you, Miss Horn, is your behavior is a little off. I'm telling you.
Because I was framed.
Just a second. Your behavior is off. And I've told you why. I've given you specific reasons why. You had two parts of your complaint. One is for wages, which I dismissed, and the other one for calling you a drug addict, which you could not prove. No. You're not hearing me. I asked you for proof that she called you a drug addict. You didn't have it. Now, proof that she defamed your organization. May I have it, Kevin?
This is from her and her father. And
just a second. Her father isn't a party to this action.
Can I speak to the counterclaim? Because I have proof from her.
Sure.
Her text. It's her text.
This is from him. I'm not interested in anything from him. Sue him if he said nasty things to you.
Your Honor, it's just not nasty things. This all came about because of everything that Sherna has done, and she doesn't realize.
Listen to me.
Yes.
None of this comes from her.
She's on it. Her name is on
there. I don't care whether her name is on it. None of this comes from her. They CC'd her.
This is proof.
Put everything away. Put all your papers away. I'm not coming back to you unless I, in fact, see that there's any validity towards her counterclaim. Then I'll come back to you. Right now, your claim is dismissed. Both counts of your claim is dismissed. I've dismissed her claims for shattered window and a broken lock. And these emails do not represent any form of defamation. If you have nothing else, your claim for defamation is dismissed. Do you have anything else? The answer is yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
We're done.
Easy.
Thank you. Bye.
You.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you. Our facility and myself have done nothing wrong.
I think I got flustered, which is fair.
We're doing everything according to the Arizona State Board and laws.
I actually thought that they paid her. She complained that she hadn't gotten her second paycheck. If you look at the documents say that they went right in and bookkeeping corrected that and sent her out the second paycheck. So that was nonsense. And there was absolutely zero proof that they called her a drug addict.
Except for in a valid document that they filed, which they have a right to do. It wasn't the type of slander we usually see where it's plastered on the internet or anything like that.
And certainly the defendant didn't present any proof other than some nasty emails back and forth by her father.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just being a supportive parent. Anyway, I hope she finds a job that's comfortable for her and some peace.
Mary Totsekian is suing her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, for a security deposit, invasion of privacy, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2047, Totsekian versus Hamad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a house.
Yes.
Where?
In Sun Valley.
When did you purchase the house?
I purchased it 4 years ago.
How much did you pay for it?
We purchased it for $585, I believe.
And you sold that house to Mr. Ahmed, what month and year?
We sold it in, I believe it was January.
Of 2022?
Yes.
And you sold it for how much?
$574,500.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Palmdale.
Did you buy something else?
Yes.
And Mr. Ahmed, you took a mortgage out?
Yes.
How much is your mortgage?
I bought the house February 15, 2022, not January, and I pay for it $710,000.
So you paid $710,000?
Yes.
Not $574,000?
No.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I might not be remembering the exact amount.
Well, that's a big, not exactly. $574,000 to $710,000 is a big difference.
Yeah, it was $710,000.
In one case you lost money. In one case, you made money.
It was $710,000. I apologize.
Okay, so $710,000.
Yes.
Yes, honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How much is your mortgage payment each month?
$5,100.
Okay, and when you sold Mr. Ahmed the house, you didn't have a place to go, according to your complaint, and you asked for a rent back.
I was in escrow.
But you didn't have a place to go. Whether you were in escrow or in an igloo in Eskimo, it doesn't mean anything. You didn't have a place to go.
Correct.
So you asked them if you could stay in the house and rent it from them. How many people are there in your family?
My family, it's 3 kids.
So who was living in the house? You?
It was me, my husband, and I have my 2 sons that are with me. My daughter doesn't live with me.
So you asked if you could rent the house back for a few months. He was nice. He said yes. How much rent did he ask for?
He asked for $4,000.
He asked for $4,000?
Yes, for 3 bedrooms, he asked for $4,000.
Your Honor, no.
Just a second. He asked for $4,000 even though his mortgage was $5,100?
$4,000. I paid a whole total together with everything with security deposit, and I paid $12,000.
No. That's not what I'm asking with security deposit. That's what we're here for your security deposit.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, how much did he originally ask you?
$4,000 was the.
Okay, well, that was pretty generous of him to ask for $4,000, considering his mortgage was $5,100, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. So that makes him a very nice person to rent it back to you, so that he's at a loss every month of $1,100. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Great. And what you're doing here is you want your deposit back.
Yes, that's correct.
$4,000. And Mr. Ahmed says that not only did he have to spend $4,000 to fix the damage you and your family caused to the house while you were living there for those few months, but he had to spend an additional $6,000. That's what he says. He had to spend an additional $6,000 because the place was destroyed, because you had a disagreement with him over the date that you were going to be receiving your deposit back. That's his claim. So there were a couple of things that were sort of questionable to me.
I have not damaged, though. I have pictures of the house when I left. There was no damage.
That's fine. You're going to show them to me. Okay. The one thing that I found strange, so now I have the facts straight. So you moved into the house in February?
In the house?
Yes.
Yes.
So you rented in February and March?
Yes.
2 months?
We moved out April 6th.
Okay. Now, you told him you were moving out, and he came to the house to do an inspection. And that was before your move-out date. On what date did you meet together for him to go through the house? And let me refresh your recollection. You came to the house. He walked around with you, and at that time, he said these few things need repair, and there was not extensive damage anywhere. And when he got to the house, he rang the bell and he opened the door and you looked through the house.
Yes.
On what date was that? Do you remember?
The day that I gave him my keys to the door.
No, that's not the date you moved out. That's the date that he came there to do a walkthrough with you, your husband, and or children. I don't know who was there. And
Your Honor, he made a lot of walkthroughs.
No, I'm asking the last one that he made.
The last one?
Yes.
The last one he did, I don't remember the exact date, but he had 4 or 5 walkthroughs.
Do you remember the date? What was the date?
March 23.
And when you went to the house on March 23rd, and they had been living there February, all of February, and most of March. Was the house in pretty good shape on March 23rd? Was it in the same shape on March 23rd when you saw it on April 6th?
Yes, because when I saw the damages of my house, I request her, what is this? I show her.
No, just a second. What did you show her?
About the floor damage, wall damage, and there is...
Oh, well, show me on the pictures that you took on March 23rd.
Okay. He quite damaged it himself from his construction that he did.
Just a second.
He did construction while I was living there. For the whole 2 months I was there, he did construction.
Okay. You know what I find problematic in both your complaint and answer?
I would like to pass my evidence.
Just a second. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I find difficult in both your complaint and his answer. That when you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. When you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. Now, he bought the house. He's paid you for the house. You've got $710,000. On the day the house closed, there is no question in my mind that there was a doorbell. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have no right to take anything from that house once it's sold. You're a renter.
Your Honor, I believe I do, because on the document it says the only thing that I'm supposed to leave for him is the washer and dryer and stove.
Madam, that's something. Have you never bought property before, or are you just trying to be obtuse? I would never think I bought and sold dozens of homes, never in one contract. In all, and I'm a lawyer, my husband's a lawyer, grandchildren are lawyers, my children are lawyers. Not in one contract does it ever talk about a doorbell. It is assumed that you leave the doorbell, that you leave the toilets, that...
No, that was not a doorbell, it was a Ring camera.
I don't care if it was a Ring camera, I don't care if it was an MGM camera or a universal picture camera. It's not yours. It's part of the property. You have no right to take it. Period. Put your hand down. Sometimes when it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to be quiet. Do you understand? You have no right to take certain things. Once the house is sold, nothing there belongs to you. Nothing. You're a renter.
That was before the house was...
Just a second. Are you telling me that when you stay there, after the house was sold, for the 2 months that you lived there, are you telling me you lived without a doorbell? Are you telling me that you lived without a doorbell? No, you lived with a doorbell.
It's a Ring. Your Honor, it's a Ring camera.
I don't care what it is.
It was not the doorbell. It's not the doorbell. It's a Ring camera. You can replace. You can take it off and take it to your next property. That's something that I bought.
You bought a lot of things in that house, I'm sure. Did you buy wallpaper? Did you buy flooring? Did you buy carpeting? You can't take it. It doesn't belong to you. It travels with the property. When you say it's a Ring camera, when you ring the doorbell, does that activate the Ring camera?
Yes, it does.
And when you took out the whole Ring camera, did you put in a doorbell?
The doorbell was already there. I never touched the doorbell. That's why I took the camera, the Ring camera, because that belongs to me. I bought that. I didn't touch the doorbell. That's part of the house. That's part of the property. It's in the wall.
Can I see a picture of what she took?
My doorbell is not here. Here is the point.
I did not touch the doorbell. He did a lot of remodeling. He probably did all the damages himself. He's trying to blame it on me.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not allowed to take it. Period.
I have a lot of evidence.
You're not allowed to take it now. So I'm starting with your case. You want your deposit back.
Yes.
This gets deducted from your deposit. Did you replace this?
Not yet.
Did you get an estimate for its replacement?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And not only doorbell, Your Honor. She took the curtain rods and also all the light bulbs.
Just a second.
Okay. Give me some time.
I don't have time.
Can I please explain what really happened and what I went through with this guy from day one?
No.
He let me
right here.
No.
Because I want to prove my case because he's wrong and he's a crook.
No. Madam, you rented the house.
Yes.
For $4,000 a month.
Yes.
A 3-bedroom house.
I paid him
amount. And you paid him the amount. And you stayed there. If there was something wrong with the house, or if you didn't like the fact that he was doing construction there, or he was coming in and out of the house, even though he was renting it to you for $1,100 less than his mortgage payment, okay? You could have moved.
Your Honor, let me just tell you that he promised me from day, he kept texting me over and over, bringing renters to show my side of the place to live. While we were living there, he harassed me every day by text messages and phone calls. Can I show the house? Every single day.
Who cares? I don't care.
But that caused a lot of tension to my family.
I don't care. Move.
Mary Totsekian claims her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, refused to return her security deposit and harassed her. Kazi is countersuing for vandalism.
Now, if you didn't like to live in a place where you were being constantly harassed, you and your husband now have a $110,000 profit from selling your house.
I gave him a $10,000 discount on that property. And he
did you understand what I just said to you? Move. Say, listen, it's not working out. You're bringing too many people in and out of the house. It's not working for me. Wait just a second. We'd like to move out before. Did you ever say that to him? The answer is no.
Because I had a lease with him.
Did you ever? Just a second.
Yes.
Did you ever say that to him? I would like to give you your property back earlier. We don't need it for 2 months because I don't want to be harassed. We're going to move out into a hotel until our house is ready. But you stayed there.
No, I told him that we can't keep having people come and knock on our door.
Okay.
I made it very
Madam, you're not getting compensated for that. You're a big girl. You made a lot of money on this house. You asked for a deal for him to rent it back to you. He said fine. He's going to tell me that he wanted to have his mortgage covered, and you were not prepared to do that. And you were not prepared to do that.
Your Honor, let me just tell you, the living situation for that 2 months that I was there was hell with him. He caused me all kinds of anxiety. The last day when I was supposed to give him the keys so I can leave, he opened the door and started arguing with me in front of my 11-year-old kid. He made him cry. He caused a lot of trauma to our family.
Your Honor, her son was not there.
He's a monster. He doesn't care about anything else. And then he did remodeling. Now he's trying to get the money out of me to pay for it because he's broke. That's
okay. First of all, this comes off the deposit, and then I want to see the estimate.
All I want is my $4,000 security deposit.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to get it.
His rent on time, just like a good renter.
Okay.
But all I wanted was my deposit back. That's it.
On March 23rd of this year, when he came to do an initial walkthrough with you before you were leaving, did you discuss deposit? The answer is yes.
I made
just a second.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And at that time, did he say to you, this needs fixed, this needs fixed? Did he say anything to you? Nothing. Did he tell you that he had, by law, 21 days to return your deposit?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say to him?
I said, that's fine, I will wait the 20 days, but
No, just a second.
Yes.
You said it was fine, I'll wait the 20 days.
Yeah, to get my deposit, yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
I have every text that we sent to each other.
I'm not reading every text that you sent to each other. I'm asking you after March 23rd. Go to your March 23rd texts.
I do have here.
He basically said
basically. I said go to your March 23rd and thereafter.
I highlight, Your Honor, for you.
After March 23rd.
Yes.
Go to do you have text messages? That's
yes,
what you said. You're looking at me.
Okay. I have a March 23 here. He led me on in the text messages saying that you help me pay my mortgage, I will help and give you a security deposit.
I'm asking you to show me the text messages after March 23rd.
This is the March 23rd.
And thereafter, you pay deposit back when there isn't any damage to the house. You don't use my deposit for anything else. You hold it for damages. Here is the notice. I would like you to meet with you and your husband. Please let me know when you are available. Please don't threaten me with my deposit.
I wasn't.
He was threatening me.
I wasn't.
Please don't threaten me with my deposit. Can you show me where on the contract it says the washer and dryer stays?
That I found, it stays, and we did leave it there.
She tried to take with her that too.
Again, Your Honor, I'm just here for my deposit because I did my responsibilities and paid the rent. I was a good tenant. I kept the house beautifully clean and everything. I deserve my deposit back. That's why I'm here. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to see him ever again. I just want my deposit.
I know what you want.
That's it.
That's why we're in court. If he felt as if you deserved your deposit, he wouldn't give it.
And if I left the house perfect, he needs to give it to me because I didn't do no damages to that property.
Okay.
He's lying.
Can you show me where the contract says the washer and dryer stays, because I don't see it? I made it very clear to everyone that I paid for it, that it's going with me.
That was before I looked at the document.
Just a second.
Yes.
So that's before you looked at the document?
Yes.
When did you look at the document?
I looked at it, it was at home when I noticed it.
Did you respond to him after the 23rd and say to him, I realize that the washer and dryer stays?
No, because he's been threatening me constantly. Why am I going to respond to him? He's been a monster.
Can you please show me photographs of what the house looked like?
He's been a complete monster,
show me
Your
what,
Honor.
just a second. Show me what the house looked like on April 6th.
This is the pictures I have. This is what it looks like. Perfect
Just
little house.
Don't speak. Just show me.
I'm just trying to say that I'm not here for anything empty. I'm here for my deposit.
No, that's not what you're here for, just your deposit, madam. That's not what you filed a claim for. An invasion of privacy and pain and suffering. There's a whole bunch of things that you're suing for. Okay. I see these pictures.
The house is in
just a second.
great shape.
Just a second. And is this your little dog?
Yes, it is. The house is in great shape. He has no complaints.
He's going to show me pictures. I'm going to look at them.
I deserve my deposit back. That's all I know. He wasted my time. He lied to me.
Can I see your photographs of what the house looks like?
Your Honor, this is the picture when I bought the property with good condition.
Okay.
And this is the picture for she intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't do that.
I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy. Anybody who takes out a doorbell ring or whatever it is and leaves holes and mollies in the wall, which is exactly what you did, just like the washer and dryer. Okay.
Your Honor, this is the previous.
Don't speak. Okay. Now I'd like to see the photographs that you took April 6th or thereafter. When did you take those photographs? On what day?
I start March 23rd to April 6th.
I'd like to see the photographs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, some of this damage, sir, that were in the door hinges, that's not damage that they did. That's not damage that I can ascribe to them. There are some holes in the walls. I know you're showing me this. That you have to deal with.
Totzikin accuses her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, of keeping her security deposit and harassing her. Kazi claims Mary vandalized his house before she left.
Okay, I don't know what this is that you're showing me in this picture.
Because there is a water leak from there. So the water goes in the cabinet inside.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume that you have some sort of insurance because they didn't do this damage.
Okay.
They didn't do this damage when they were there. I would like, sir, to see some of the pictures before and after. This is moldy and it's dirty. So they didn't clean the bathtub. Where are you living now, sir?
With my mom.
And who's living in the house?
I rent it out.
What's the name of the people that you rented the house to?
Is Walter.
When did you rent it? On what date?
I don't remember exact date.
Well, you'll remember. You remember everything else. You remember April 6th. You remember March 23rd. Now remember what day they came.
Okay. June.
So actually the house was, just a second, so actually the house was unrented for about a month and a half.
Right. Because
not a because. Now, how much did you rent the house for to Walter?
$4,000.
Could you explain to me why you're renting it to somebody for less than what you pay in your mortgage?
Sure. So here is the American dream, because I came here 2013 and I started live with my mom. So me and my wife working so hard to buy the house. We save every penny day by day, and we saw a lot of house last couple years.
I'm not, listen, don't tell me your life story. I want to know why you're renting the house for less than your mortgage payment.
Because, no, the people is very nice, and they said they're going to increase the rent January. They give me $5,000. That's why.
Do you have a lease with them?
I do.
You have a lease with them. And
yes.
Does the lease indicate that the rent is being raised in January?
Yes.
What?
That whole thing that he said that his place was not rented for a month, that's a lie because he was renting the place out while I was living there. So he had renters all in the backside.
Just a second, you mean they were living with you?
They were living in that back house. That house is split with the wall, so there's empty rooms in the back. So he was literally renting it out, boom, boom, like right away.
Just a second.
While I was there.
Is what you're telling me that there are two sources of income from that house?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
Listen to me carefully.
Sure.
How many tenants do you have in that house?
3.
Shh.
Oh.
Look at me.
Sure.
How many tenants? You have Walter,
yes.
and he pays you $4,000.
Yes.
You have another tenant.
Yes.
Okay, and the other tenant is in the back.
Yes.
And what does the other tenant pay you?
Okay, the one.
No, that's a figure.
Oh,
what does the other tenant pay you? Don't look up there. You know exactly how much?
3,000.
3,000. So you cover your mortgage, and you make a little money.
Yes.
Now, while she was living there, pay attention.
Yes.
While she was living there, were you renting the back?
Yes.
Yes. And how much were you getting?
Okay.
That's a number. Okay. Before you answer the question, think. How much were you getting from the people in the back?
Same.
Same what?
Because that's not my...
But just a second. What do you mean the same? The same as what?
The people used to live there long time with her. That's her tenant, not mine. She just transferred to me.
I see. So you had a tenant living in the back?
Yes.
You had a tenant living in the back? And what was the rent that you were charging your tenant?
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. Yes, I did. And one of the tenants, I'll tell you right now.
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you.
That's what I'm saying.
Just give me that's a number, not a story.
1,000, and I would say 2,000 altogether.
Sounds to me as if everybody did very well. You have to pay for the doorbell. Now I want a receipt for the doorbell. The rest of the pictures are nonsense. And you had no loss of income. Just a second.
Yes,
I want the estimate for the doorbell. That's what I want. That's going to be deducted from the... Put your hand down. Otherwise, you're gone. Do you understand? Doorbell.
$84.
$84.
Yes, something like that.
Do the math for me. I think it's $3,900, whatever. $4,000 less 84.
$39.16.
$39.16. Sir, I've looked at your photographs, and I don't see any damage that you can ascribe to the plaintiff that I think mitigates in your favor, other than the doorbell, which I actually find outrageous.
Right, Your Honor.
And you had no loss of income. So clearly what you did was purchase this house, and you make an income from this house every month.
After I pay my mortgage, and there is a service, like expenses, and also there is a like utilities bill is so expensive now.
I don't care. $39.16. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaims dismissed. We are finished with this case.
Right.
Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
I deserve my security deposit back. I did very well with paying the rent, and I feel like this was fair.
I'm not happy about it because I'm the buyer and I bought the house. There is a lot of damages after she moved out.
He was pretty much texting and having renters come and knock on my door every day without even giving me a notice ahead of time.
I was always giving to her 2-3 days notice to go in the property.
It was not easy, but we moved on to something better, so.
Still living in the American dream.
You know, this case is sort of an example of you read a complaint and you read an answer and you sort of have a predetermination of what the case might look like and how that shifts. Because when I originally saw these people, I said, she took the doorbell and the ring thing with her. Why? And it was with the washer and dryer. She said, I'm taking it. It was in the contract that it stayed. But then when I got to know both of these people, Sarah, they were both a little bit of hustlers. Nobody told me up front that there was a back apartment that they rented. And I said, why was this guy being such a good guy?
Yeah. And he didn't say, well, actually, I'm not that great of a guy. I rent the backside and cover my expenses.
I rent the back for $3,000 and it all covers his expenses. They actually, both of them, deserved each other a little bit. He didn't deserve another $6,000 in addition to the $4,000 because I didn't see that much in damage. I mean, you looked at some of the pictures.
I saw some of the photos, and it looked like
holes, from pictures in the wall.
But not like what he was describing in his answer, like punched holes in the wall and ripped up flooring. We didn't see any of that.
There was nothing. Anyway, she made a lot of money.
He's doing just fine.
And he's doing just fine.
There's no AC since the building is older. Overall, this unit was absolutely perfect, really nice homey vibe to it. I could totally see myself living there. It was so bright, it had great finish. The only thing is that the location of this apartment was not it, even though it's in Crown Heights. It was kind of and a little bit isolated. There wasn't much at all going on downstairs, and that's also probably why it had such a great price. And it was so beautiful. You take that apartment and you put that in Manhattan, that's like $6,000 easy. It was too much of a sacrifice on the location, and it also didn't have any amenities, and there was no gym that was close by, so there were a few things that we prioritized that we just couldn't give up on for this apartment, even though it was very apt. Beautiful. The sixth apartment that we saw, this was a 1-bedroom 1-bath in Boerum Hill, Brooklyn, which is a really cute area that I really like. It has a lot of great restaurant. This apartment was a little bit on the high end at $4,300, net effective $3,969, so pretty much up there, but it had no broker's fee, so that is the price that you would be paying. Kitchen has really nice finish, and I also really love an island because it makes filming videos way easier for me, so that's something that I love to see and is a bonus for sure. But the way that it was kind of hidden away from the window, it did make it kind of dark. However, I think I could have worked with it better.